Okay, we're live. All right, guys. So, hello, everyone. Thank you very much. I know we've been planning this for a few days now, so I'm glad that everyone is here. Where's Annette? Where's Jeanette? We lost one person already. Oh, never mind. Okay, there you are. You're back. Okay, cool.
My phone
So
keeps
sorry.
telling me.
All right, so everyone's here. So everyone, welcome to the group stream. Everyone watching live at home and on the replay, welcome. I'm definitely excited. We have a full house tonight, almost a full house. But we pretty much So we have how many people? We have 8 people here. That is amazing. It's my biggest group stream so far. So before we get started, let's all introduce ourselves. Vin, why don't you go first?
All right, Vin Lay, out of Chi-Town, Chicago. Come from a big family, 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Hitting it off with hobbies. I play guitar. I love to learn language. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, served in Mongolia for about 3 years, lived in Japan. Nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you.
And now, nice to meet you. So now we have Shaolin. Why don't you introduce yourself, sir?
What's up, everyone? I am the Shaolin Fantastic of the Fresh Delivery Show and the Dirty 30 podcast. I don't know how much you want to know about me, but just Google me. That's probably the best way to do it. But I'm been in the BWAM, we call it BWAM community for the last, I don't know, V, how long it's been? Like 7 years, 6 or 7 years. So been around
11 years now. Well, I mean, for you coming like a little later, but you know.
Yeah, been around the block, and just trying to help support our culture, if you want to call it, the AMBW BWAM culture. So
cool, great. And Mr. Tran, why don't you please introduce yourself, sir?
I'm JT Tran, former aerospace engineer, like a rocket scientist, and now professional dating coach for the ABCs of Attraction. Gosh, for over 10 years, helping Asian men around the world be more successful and confident with all types of women, including Black women. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Miss Net, why don't you introduce yourself?
It's like, hi, I'm Net. I'm 22. I play a little guitar. I'm learning Korean. I'm currently in college. I'm ready to give it up, but I'm gonna keep going strong. And I can't think of anything else, so that's me.
Great. Okay, well, Miss Melly, why don't you introduce yourself, ma'am?
Hello, I'm Melly, administrative assistant of an energy company, mother of 3, and that's it for me.
Great, simple, straight to the point. Miss Tasha?
Hi, I'm Tasha. I'm here in Dallas, mother of 3, returning college student and actress. What else? Just a little bit of everything. So I'm happy to be here and be able to talk.
Excellent.
That was my old hometown, so.
Excellent. And before we get to our final guest, I had to preface this by saying, everyone, warning, explicit content. No, I'm just kidding. How do we introduce our next guest? I think this is the only way.
Surprise, motherfucker.
No, that's not it either. Is it this one? Oh, is it this one? I think it's this one. Hang on. No, that's not it. V, why don't you introduce yourself?
What's up, guys? I'm V, representing the DMV, creator of BWAM for Black Women Asian Men United. Been strong, over 10K members. 1 point, closed it down. We still hold the Facebook group. Just here chilling and happy to be here, seeing all these cool folks. And then I promise myself to be nice. I'll be nice.
Please do,
Awesome.
please.
All right, so let's get right into it, shall we? So we have a list of topics. The first one is, I came up with this one. So this is a personal question I have for everyone on the panel, obviously. Is there anything wrong with a man not paying on dates? And there's no specific order, so if you guys want to go, just chime in.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the man not
Oh,
paying for
God.
the date, but it's going to give off probably the signal that you don't want. I mean, obviously, it depends on the woman and who you're getting with or what kind of relationship that you have. But there is, even if it's like the 21st century and all of that, there is an expectation. If this is a romantic setting and you want to have a romantic relationship with the girl, the man pays for the date. Like, regardless of what the current political climate is, there is that universal expectation, I think, with women. So
Would you like some vagina eventually from this person? Is the question you need to ask. Pay for the
Is that what you're thinking on the first date?
pay for the damn
I
date,
thought
guys.
you were going to
Simple as
give
that.
me.
Pay for the damn date. Don't even think about it. Like, there's not a question about this. Pay for the date. Even if she asked you, unless she's like, some kind of astronaut coming in,
You made my ass sit down.
pay for the damn date. Very simple, guys. Very simple.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean,
Well, I think you should pay for the date if you're asking the woman out, but I think if you're friends, it's okay to go Dutch. But I think if you pay for the date to get some vagina,
Tasha,
that's a
that's not a
whole
date.
goddamn different
That's
topic.
not a date, boo. That's a friendship. That is going Dutch.
So based on what V's saying, I agree. So like, I don't know what everyone's financial status is. Like, personally, to me, money's not a big deal. So I'll treat people like, if I invite you out to come out, I'm gonna pay. But when it comes to, I know we live in 2021, things are different, but let's just talk heterosexual, because that's what AMBW, putting it out there, people. It's heterosexual, AMBW. Anyway, so heterosexual. If you're the person inviting the person out for a date, I do feel like you should pay. From a man standpoint, I'm gonna pay at least the first 2 dates. And I've been taught, I was raised by, like my mom and my sister. They said that if a woman asks you out on the 3rd date, or she says, I like to plan this date, and she offers to pay, I'm still gonna pay, but that means I'm in. I got the green light, because that means she's interested. She's invested, So I feel like, my personal opinion, men, don't be cheap, but at the same time, don't be a sucker and blow all your money on these dates. You gotta feel the chemistry. You gotta know, maybe one time, second time, but at the same time, like Bruno Mars, what he says, I like the same stuff. I like to eat fillets too, so I'm eating too.
Leave the door open.
Yeah, man. I like to pour some champagne on my body when I'm walking around when I'm in heaven.
Hey, Shaolin.
There's a certain rule to that, though. If she gives you some first or second date, it resets. You still have to pay for the 3rd date. Just let y'all know that, and beforehand, just know that. Okay.
Roger that.
Yeah, Mr. Vin.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So even if I'm interested or not, I think it's gentleman-like to pay for the first date, and then we'll look at the second date and go from there. You know what I'm saying? That's just straight. That's it.
Hey, Net.
My audio was clicking in and out. I missed the majority of the conversation.
Oh, okay. Guys, just repeat everything you just said.
Really?
Yeah, just verbatim. And if you mess up a word, then you have to start over.
V started off with the fruit, so you got to say the fruit first thing that came out of your mouth.
Are you using your mother's internet? That's the first question I want. I'm just messing around. You is, ain't you? You are. You are. Yes, thank you.
He's at
So
Big's house.
switches are pretty good.
Well, no, Jeanette. Basically, yeah. So the question was: is there anything wrong with a man not paying on a date? Like, for instance, like the first date. Like, should the man always pay?
No. I think it should be equal always. Because, like, say you ask me out on a date to like a movie theater or something, I'm like, I feel like I need to do something. I don't know. Maybe I was raised like, I don't like to accept stuff like that. Like, it's just a little weird. I don't even like when people buy me $1 water bottle. So, like, I'm always like, okay, you got the tickets. Let me get the popcorn or the juice, It's not lies, actually. I can give you a strict, and Melissa can vouch for me because we went to New York City together. I was on a date with someone and we went to a festival, and I bought us the little juice pouches full of alcohol because he paid for everything else. Like, it's not lies. Miss Melissa, we met each other in real life.
Give it a few years.
Yes. Yes.
So yes.
But it may not change. If she was raised like that, it may not change. Like I was raised, if I asked you on a date, I'm paying for it. If you ask me on the date, you paying for it. But again, I was raised by men. So
and I'ma always have my own money. Say like,
I
even if
was
I was
just
down
going to
bad
say
and had
that.
like $20, I'm gonna order something that's like $14, so I can still pay for my stuff at the end of the day.
That's very funny that you guys say that. It's like, if he asks for the date, he pays for it. If you ask for the date, you pay for it. How many of y'all approach first? And what's the percentage of you approaching first, man? Let's be real here.
Well, also the way to piggyback on that, it depends on the date. It depends on the date too. So like you said, if you're going to a movies or a concert and the person's paying for the ticket and stuff like that, it is kind of common courtesy. It is nice to have someone be like, hey, I'll go get the drinks. I'll be right back. Let me go. I think that's just kind of cool. But I feel like if it's like a formal date, like an actual dinner, really getting to know each other the first time, if the man invites the woman, I think he should pay. The woman invites him, I think he should pay. That's just me though. But
well, can I chime in?
Number 2, you paying one way to go.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, sure. No, Tasha, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Tasha. No, I was just gonna say I can understand what Net was saying, like how I was raised. 1, the man does pay for the date. 2, regardless who asks who. But what I've incorporated myself, sometimes it just depends. If you pay for the date, I may put the tip down. Like I'll take care of the tip. But also, my mother always taught me it doesn't matter if he pays, you pay, nobody pays. You always make sure you have money in your pocket just in case something goes wrong. So you can leave, you could call an Uber, or if he acts a nut, you can sit there and have dinner yourself and eat your own goddamn food, with or without him. That's how I was raised, since we're gonna keep it 100.
That's real woman shit right there. Real woman shit. Exactly.
To chime in really quickly, sometimes I'll have my
totally
students
agree, and I definitely feel like it should be like that. Oh, go ahead, JT. Sorry.
All right. I was about to say that sometimes you might tell like the woman doesn't want to feel like she's taking advantage of the man, right? And she'll offer. So in those cases, I suggest like, okay, guys, pay for the date, and then say like, and you can get dessert later, or you can get the next round of drinks, right? And so that way she doesn't feel like super obligated in the moment that like, oh, he paid for the date, so he's expecting more. So that way you can kind of split it. The guy kind of pays the lion's share, and then she gets dessert or like drinks or something like that.
I like that idea. I think it's very common to what we're saying. Like, and I think women do feel that way, JT. We live in a society like, okay, you're paying for the date. Are you expecting something? Like the whole game has changed. And let's just be honest. I don't know about all of you, but I'm older. It's definitely changed in the dating world. And then we hit this pandemic. So nobody's seeing nobody. Everybody's coochie and dick hungry. Sorry, excuse my language, we're grown here. And you just never know. So, but I do like that concept of
everybody's a pandemic puppy at this point, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody is desperate for like social affection.
For yourselves.
Start.
Shut up, Vee.
So Tasha, with what you're saying, like, I agree, with myself being a little bit older, that's the part where the conversation in a lot of group chats, Facebook blogs about chivalry being dead, because the generation has changed where it is very, very equal. So there's no room for people to actually be chivalrous all the time,
Exactly.
And the reality of it is way easier to get ass if you need it, like it's so much easier. You don't even have to pay for it. Like, you don't have to, not pay for that, but pay for a dinner to get some butt.
Right.
You don't have to. Now you just be like, hey, you trying to go hit a day, or something. I don't know how people do it these days.
No, I've been on a dating app where literally a guy introduced himself. We had a conversation, and then the next thing he says, so me and my girl want to, no, homeboy, where did you read my profile that says that I get down like that? Like, but people are really, really, I'm getting to that point. Like, people are bold. So he and his girlfriend, like, your girl got a girlfriend kind of situation. I'm not into that. That's not my stilo. But you're right. People can get butt all over the place, and being older and in this with the dynamics changing, it's hard. It's really hard. And I'm just going to keep it real and 100 and honest. And the other thing, we talked about it, ageism plays a role. Men want really, really young girls, but what happens when that girl starts looking like the girl who's 40 now that you bypass because you want to be with a 22-year-old? That part, huh, Nell?
I do feel in our, like, obviously we want to talk about our community too. I do feel like in our community, I don't know how the guys feel, but I do feel like there's a demand for sugar daddies pretty often.
Look, if you need them, you getting some sugar anyhow. So one way or
Right.
another.
That's that young, that free pass. Like, I don't have to do nothing. All I have to do is ask him, hey, babe, I want to go to Hawaii. Be like, oh, yeah, what you building off of that, though?
I feel like it's a little privilege. Like it's a privilege, and that's a nice privilege there.
Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and he get tired of you, you gone, and vice versa.
JT.
He's being off.
Be quiet. B. You just boiling. I can see it on your face. Like, I want to jump in.
I mean, there's a couple of different, topics at hand. Chivalry or like sugar daddyism. It's definitely something I've seen when it comes to like the entire phenomenon of interracial groups, not just AMBW, but like AMWF, where there are women that, definitely hunting for Asian guys, right? Specifically to like, I want a guy that's going to pay for my lifestyle, my kids, all of that. And it's just something to be aware of. I mean, that's just, and it's every single particular group has their own kind of fraught, issues in it. So that's just something that Asian men should be aware of. But also, if I could give one piece of advice to just any kind of Asian men that are watching this, to the topic of chivalry, it's like be nice and be chivalrous because that's who you are, and not because you want to get into a girl's pants. If you're going to be nice because that's the right thing to do. That's how you're raised, and you want to put that out in the world, not because you expect something. Like, I open the door because I just enjoy doing that, whether it's a little old lady or, a mom, carrying her kid, or the date that I'm on. You just simply do that, and you don't expect like a pat on the back, like, oh, good boy, you just do it because you do it.
I mean, I think that's just character in general of people, just common being a human, just being kind to other, and that's the part that we're missing, especially during these times in our society in general. And there's always an expectation. This that I don't want to say the Me Too movement, but everyone's expecting like, oh, well, you need to do this for me, you need to do this for me. Like, so for what? Like, what have you done for everyone else? It's a lot of, I don't know, that perception is very heavily instilled in the younger generation, men and women. So, but I do agree, men. I mean, if you can be a chivalrous man, and you can be chivalrous and still, get the cake. It's gonna happen no matter what. And obviously, there's that saying, you get more bees with honey. So, you working that honey something right, then you'll get the cake and the batter too, and everything that goes with it later on, and possibly some breakfast. I think that's the best question to ask if you want to figure out if you're wasting your time, money, or not. Just ask them, like, hey, can I have breakfast with you during your date? And they say yeah, then that's your green light.
I think you're hitting on something. Like, this whole transparency doesn't seem very relevant to me, is what I'm experiencing. Maybe just like you said, I would rather you just state up front what it is and let me make a decision if that's what I want as well.
You're right. But the thing about that is people in general are ashamed to be shady when it comes down to it. Let's just be real about it. Men and women, we've seen in the AMBW community, we've seen people hit up other people, make up lies and ask them for, like PayPal, and be like, oh, I need the help, I'm struggling here and there. And, and people are just not upfront with what they're doing. They're not being real about it. And in the dating situation, just be real. Just tell them what you want. Like, I'll be honest, like, I haven't done a dating app before until, V brought it up the other night. I was like, hey, let me go ahead and try this, Joe, right? And I got some hits. And the first thing I asked him, like, what are you looking for? I'm looking to casually talk to people. No, bullshit. Tell the truth. What do you look for? I tell him straight up, be like, look, I'm single. I'm trying to have some fun. But if I find someone and it grows, then I will, be exclusive to that. But until then, I'm going to date around and, whatever happens, that's my personal business, and that's your personal business, whatever,
Well, I think that's cool because, hell, all of us got options. And why limit your options if that's not it? You are not married. You're not in, and even in committed relationships, people get that confused. Oh, we're committed. I'm not married to you. I made a choice to be in this with you, but I can also make a choice to be out of this if it's not healthy for us. if this is not going somewhere, because I feel like I'm vocal enough and we communicate enough that I've set the tone and the standard that I expect, and you've set yours. If I'm meeting your expectations and you're not meeting mine, why do I got to stay?
Agreed, but not everyone is you, Tasha. Not everyone has that mindset.
No.
So with that being said, a lot of times when things get bad, people are not transparent. What do? They go talk to their homeboy, homegirl, and then they start typing shit on posts, and people start chiming in, and then you got a whole cluster issue, and there's too many opinions. When in reality, the old school mentality was like, you got to duke it out, and you actually got to try to communicate. Now, if you are exhausted all your options, then you need to get out. You know what I mean?
I agree with that too.
But
I do. But here again, I had to learn that. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I've been this all my life. No, I had to learn that in growing up, in learning how to date. And even being in a long-term relationship, sometimes when you come out of those, you don't really know as much as you think you know. And that has nothing to do with age or anything else. You've just been with one person for, 10, 15 years.
So experience plays a big part. Age does a little bit, but it's more of experience or the quality of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to bring in another subject anyway, because Tasha said when you want a guy to be upfront when they first meet you, right? Some people just don't know what they want until they get to know the person. You know what I'm saying? We don't know if she's one night special, a month, 2 month dating special, or marriage material until we get a little bit, at least a little bit, And then again, how everyone says you get a representative, you never know. And then you pull out those hard questions, hard answers. So that's just another aspect of it. I'm just saying.
No, that's a very good aspect. I definitely am glad that you brought that up, because, we can't rule out anything. But I think also really having a good understanding of who you are as a person makes a difference.
One thing I've seen a lot, at least when it comes to the clientele and students that I deal with, which may or may not apply to the people watching this live stream, is that, you have to forgive my dog out there, is that a lot of guys who are inexperienced don't know what they're looking for, right? So they kind of go on like a fishing expedition, and they're like, oh, I think maybe I want to get married. I want someone serious. Maybe I want a one-night stand, but they don't know. And so it's sort of like this kind of spaghetti method. And if it's confusing to him, imagine it, the woman who's like, what is he looking for? Do I fit? But even on top of that is, as we humans, gain whatever experience, successes that we have in our personal lives, it evolves, it changes. Like I've had students that they will only be like, I want to sleep with 100 women. I'm like, okay, you do you, all right, that's what you really want. But then over time, they realize that that's really wasn't as fulfilling for them, and they become more of a serial monogamous, and they want to end up getting married. But I've also had the reverse happen, where someone was like, I want someone serious. I want just to get married, have kids, all of that. And then they discover they're actually pretty good with girls. And then like, no, I just want to be a man whore, right? And so this kind of this evolution, but it's definitely, my recommendation is like, when you know what you want, you need to learn how to communicate that, whether it's like, hey, you know what? I am going to have fun. I'm going to go to nice dinners. I'm going to go dancing. And it's just like, I'm the life of the party. Or the kind of guy that's like, hey, I want to date more, more monogamous style, right? But that's an authenticity factor, right? That unfortunately not everybody's going to have, as some people are just going to be shady and think that they have to lie to get into someone's pants or, in someone's wallet.
Good point.
Right? They'll make a GoFundMe page and try to hustle people.
All right, so I want to move on really quickly because this is a great topic. We've been going on it for a little bit. We have other topics to get to. So the next topic, I'm just going to highlight right here. And again, whichever one of you wants to jump into it first, let's begin. Can y'all see that?
Oh, what about women and femininity and masculinity for men?
Yes.
I feel like that's a very broad. Could you narrow that down a little bit?
Is that a question or just a statement?
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. It's more. I guess it's more of a topic. But Shaolin, like you brought it up yesterday.
Refresh my memory.
Try to pull up the Facebook chat.
I said a lot yesterday.
You did. No.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, I'll back you up, bro. I got you.
I think that was me who brought that up.
Oh, that was
Michelle
you.
might have too.
Okay. Well, actually, you know
So
what? Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Go on, Tasha.
I think what and again, you're right. It is kind of stated broadly, but something that I had heard, and it kind of struck a chord with me personally, and it was about women not having that femininity about them. They've taken on more of a masculine role, and one of the things that the woman had said was part of what happens is women begin to carry a lot of weight. They're taking care of the family, or they're married, or they're single parents, and the household, and all of these things, and they don't realize in the midst of that they have lost some of their femininity. And it just kind of struck a chord with me, and I thought that was really something that I had never thought about before. For me, being a parent, you're taking on the world and your household for your family to make sure everybody's good. And quite frankly, yeah, well, you can use femininity, but you almost have to take on a masculine energy, so to speak, to make sure that your voice is heard and things are getting done because you're not a man. Does that make sense? What I'm kind of getting at?
Well, isn't this what women ask for? Do women live in suffrage? Isn't this what they ask for? A two income household, and helping the rich get richer by saying, hey, you know what, we'll work too. I mean, this is created by women. This whole thing is created by women in a way.
I don't think the right to vote has anything to do with economic.
It's not only voting though. It's about working and taking a lead role and not removing men and becoming independent. So it's more than that. It's a lot more than that actually. So you hear a lot these days, well, if he's not a man enough, then I won't be feminine. Like that Carrie Hilson, that's crazy. That's insane to me. Like how someone can say that. If you're not man enough, I won't act feminine. It's like me walking up to a girl in a dress, hey, you want to go out on a date? Oh, you're too much. You act too much like a man. So you can't pull out my masculinity. That's insane to me. It doesn't make sense. But girls go with it because one girl says it, another girl go with it. Yes, my girl power.
Beyonce messed that up for everyone with the Destiny's Child.
Like the dumb stuff that girls say together, like they go with. Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think.
Tasha,
go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? So,
sure.
Well, and then Ned, obviously, you're the other lady in here. What is your definition of masculinity and femininity then?
That's a very good question.
Pay me for my questions. It's like
pay me. I'm the one who brought it up.
I'm splitting with you. Equal household, remember?
There we go, baby. There we go.
Wrong!
I think I'm still trying to figure that out to a degree. I think about when I was younger, I felt like I was a lot more feminine in the sense of, I won't say dependent, but submissive to a degree. Does that make sense? And I think for me personally, I think there's a certain amount of, and I'm not saying slave, let's just be really clear of identifying submissive and, oh, I'm just not going to do that. And I think with how society has changed the roles in a way, how we see men and women have also played a role on femininity and masculinity. I think of masculinity is not just paying the bills, but I also think the man is a fixer. You know what I mean? He hears his woman say this, this, and this, and it could be just in slight conversation. And the next thing she knows, she comes home and the garbage disposal is fixed just because I brought it up in simple conversation. You see what I'm saying? I think that we as women sometimes, and I'm not just going to be, I'm not a man basher and I'm not a woman basher. I just want to be the better woman. And sometimes it takes a collective mind of men and women to help us understand each other a little bit better, because we take on these roles that our parents have given us. And that was from 1957. And that's different than now. But I think, when you say, well, honey, the garbage disposal needs to be fixed and you're in the process of making dinner, and I'm just using that as an example, And he says, sometimes he might say yeah or no, and you're thinking he's not listening, and you go on about the day, and then you go underneath the garbage disposal and fix it. That irritates him because you never give him a chance to fix the problem for you. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes we as women have to step back and allow the man to be a man. We keep asking for a man, but then we get these boys and you want to raise them like they're your child. They're not your child.
So when it comes down to it, it's perspective and delivery of how you're saying things then.
That part.
Yeah, I think so.
It's knowing your audience, no matter who it is.
I think it's part of it. And I think when you're, for me, and I don't know about anybody else, single parenting, I think I've become a lot more, I won't say I'm not feminine, but I think sometimes I take on a more masculine energy because I'm at home raising a son by myself and there's not a man in the house. So I want to raise him to be a good man without that other person there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Same here.
And then you're going out there and you're fighting the world, where normally if there was a man in the house, he's helping to fight the world with you. And some of the things that you would not be normally doing, now you're doing. Mm-hmm. So trying to find that balance and saying, but yet I'm still a woman. Yet I still have that docile side to me. Yet I still have that submissive side to me. And not getting lost in the jungle of all of that.
On top of trying to make sure your child don't be out here going to a woman be like, hey, wait, why you
Bingo.
that? My mama did that on her own, which I found I actually this year had to start telling my son. It took a minute for me to realize it. I had to start telling him, you know what? When you get married, if your wife says she needs something done, listen to her. Don't go back saying my mama did. I don't have that choice. She has that choice because she has you.
Exactly. I tell my son the same thing. One day you're going to be a man, and I want you to be a good man to the woman that you marry, a good man to your children. So that's just my take, my personal opinion. Anybody can jump in.
Can I just jump in real quick? I'm just curious as y'all talking. I love listening. What are your thoughts on like men taking on the role as stay-at-home dads and switching that up, and the woman's the one making the money for the fam? I'm just curious how that switches up, and if that touches on.
Wrong!
Thanks, baby. I was just curious about that. What are your thoughts about that? It has to be some ways to, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's a little bit ties on the topic, but it's a little bit different. But just curious.
No, I think it definitely ties on the topic. Get back to me. Go someone else. I'm gonna think about that.
You look like a kung fu movie.
If I can circle back a little bit and talk more about the international expression of masculinity, because Asians, when we say Asians, we sort of pile together Asian Americans, Asian born, Asian raised, and then foreign born Asians who also live in America. And so Asian masculinity is not the same globally, right? Mm-hmm. Although like there are obviously common gender roles, typically like the man, taking charge, paying the bills, and that exists like over in the motherland of Asia. That is true. But also just the physical expression, you've got like the K-pop look, the aesthetic of that, K-pop. Right? And so that might not be, it is not popular, like despite BTS and all that, it is realistically not popular here in America, at least when it comes to actually meeting people in real life. And I speak from experience, right? Mm-hmm. But also, and this is more something directed to the Asian men that are watching this, is I have a lot of students, and this is kind of universal, especially in China, because of China's one-child policy. There's something called the little emperor syndrome, where Asian boys are raised by themselves because they have no siblings, and their life tasks and responsibilities are handled by their parents. So they grow up not learning and not knowing how to take care of this. Like I had a one-on-one a couple weeks ago, and literally this man who was making like good money, 6 figures, didn't know how to do his own laundry, didn't know how to cook. I mean, just did not know basic life tasks other than being raised to, hey, I'm going to pay your bills, right? And that's something that's just directed to the Asian men at large that might be, watching this, is especially here in America, there's still that expectation is like, you're going to need more than money just to get and keep the girl. But also, I just want to put out there that Asian masculinity takes on many forms, at least aesthetically. And it's not just like, hey, this Asian guy looks like other American guys, right? The way we look and express ourselves is going to be different.
Jeanette, did you want to add to that?
You're on mute.
Like a kung fu movie.
Oh yeah, Jeanette, you're on mute. She says she's not.
You're not, but I'm reading your lips. We can't hear you.
Oh.
I had to leave and come back in because I could barely hear you, and that helped. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you might have to do that. You might have to. You want to try that? Okay.
Well, borrow some of my bars or something like. What? I'm just saying.
You know what? I have a question here. There was it was a good question. It was brought up last night when we were trying to come up with a list of questions, and I'm not gonna say who came up with it. If y'all want to claim it, it's fine. But I'm gonna highlight it right now, and it's for one of our guests, actually, right here. So.
I got a follow-up question to that too.
So who wants to go first?
I mean, I guess since the question is directed at me, I think it's pretty universal, but there are certain things because the way I teach, I mean, I know it's like, oh, pickup, but the reality is, I mean, that's just a sizzle. Like I just, selling what people want and then giving them what they need. And I have to teach programs where like, I've had entire boot camps where no one spoke English as their first language, right? So it's not like I'm teaching them how to be a white guy. And so there are certain universal principles of like, yes, you have to go up there, you have to say hello, whatever. And that's universal. And I try to teach them in a more, what we call like a direct style. But then there are other considerations where, I tell you guys like, teach her some phrase in Vietnamese, right? Something playful at first, and then follow up, with something romantic. And, I'll clean that for only Asians. Don't only work for Asians. But there are obviously like universal principles that work for anyone, regardless, when it comes to a man approaching women. And then there are things that we as an Asian man can do to, as I always say, be successful because we're Asian and not in spite of it. And there are like, I have taught like a program for women of color is for Shan Boodram's seminar when she was doing that for like Quibi. And that's kind of a different beast though.
So I got a question for you. So, just playing devil's advocate, reading your headline, USA's #1 dating coach. What is your statistic in your data based on your success rate in dating? Like, so if you're going to give me pointers, like what would be my probability of me courting a lovely young lady?
Well, you have to be honest with your intention. Is it to get laid that night? I mean, I would say realistically pretty low. I mean, not to blow smoke up your ass. Yeah. I know that in the community is like, oh, promise them you can get laid every single night. But the reality is no. I mean, unless you happen to be tall, famous, good looking, having the sexual, physical, archetype of that women are looking out to get a one night stand themselves. Realistically, very low. Now, here's the thing, though. One thing I've learned over coaching 10 years, thousands of students, is each student has different goals. And it isn't necessarily to be like, oh, I want to get laid. At the same time, it isn't necessarily to get married. It evolves. So your goals are based internally. Your goals evolve over time. And it's more important to me that their goals are to improve because there's something missing, whether it's technical, whether it's like mental, they're not there, or whether they just don't know how to express themselves physically. Like you can learn these things if you're able to follow directions. It's to simply say, hey, I think you're beautiful. That's 100%, right? You can improve yourself. You can improve your confidence when you take that task, that mindset of, I want to improve myself, as opposed to being more end goal oriented, which is like, I'm going to get married or I'm going to sleep with a girl, because women are an amalgamation of an infinite number of variables. They're all unique. And though you might gain enough experience to kind of predict certain patterns of behavior, there's no way to be like 100% I will always get laid or 100% you always get a girlfriend. It's more about a process of improvement.
So okay, so I agree with that. So you have an end goal, and which is going to measure your success rate, and you have the small objectives that lead up to that. So the question is, not trying to pry, but it's just like, if I'm a client and I know that you're this dating coach, it doesn't matter if I'm getting booty or whatever, because the term is dating. So I can date to get laid, I could date to court, I could date to get married, I could date just to be happy, I could just date to have fun. Like, I want to know what would be that success rate, and how do I know that I can feel confident in employing you to be my coach?
I mean, I would say 100% if that's like your success. I mean, your metric of success. I mean, I'm the only dating coach that I know of that's officiated his own client's wedding. I mean, I've taught at Harvard, I've taught at Yale. I have literally thousands of reviews. At a certain point, it isn't me trying to convince you. You have to convince yourself that this is even possible for you. Like, you have no physical disabilities that I can see. I have taught students with both mental, physical, and emotional disabilities, from autism to being blind to being deaf to being in a wheelchair. I mean, it's not me that I have to convince you. You have to convince yourself that this is something that you want and that it's even possible for you. I mean, it's what psychologists call like learned helplessness, right? Mm. At some point, you learn that you're completely helpless. It's a chronic mental issue. And, you know, if your metric of deciding to purchase a product or get any kind of services or coaching is X amount of reviews, per se, like Yelp or whatever, and I have that, but you still decide not to employ me, that's not on me, that's on you.
What's your going rate?
As anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000.
How many
depends
sessions?
on the program. Yeah.
How many sessions?
The boot camps are a weekend, and then like my longer tours are like, you know, goes for like over 2 weeks.
Dang, I'm trying to get me Zoe Saldana, man. Can you make that happen?
Well, I do live in Hollywood, so there's a possibility of meeting some celebrities. But I think we're kind of like digressing here. I don't want this to be like an info, you know, commercial.
Vin, you haven't said anything. Well, you kind of look like you had something on your mind. Did you want to add something or say something?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I was just listening in. Thank you for the tips.
Mr. V, what are your thoughts, sir?
JT, find me a good woman. I need a good woman in my life. I find it so hard dating. I don't know what to do.
Well, I would say, you know, if you want the woman of your dreams, be the man of your dreams. You know, it's like, if you're a woman, would you date the male variant of you? Right? I mean, I've had friends where like their lives are just awful and they're just trying to get good. I'm like, yeah, maybe you could hook up with a girl, but there's no way you can keep a girl like that if you're still living in like the basement of your parents' house, you know? Right. So, you know, I mean, there's an entire process where, you know, it's like having a self-inventory, doing a self-awareness, and getting out there in the right sort of venues. Because obviously, when you go out to a bar or club, not that I'm saying you can't meet good women, tons of people do that all the time, but there are different expectations going out to a bar or club where it's more short-term based as opposed to maybe either online, like Hinge or Bumble or Coffee Meets Bagel, or going out what we call dating, where you might meet someone that's more long-term prospects, if you will. Like, so you have to ask yourself, where am I going, and how is my life, and, you know, would I date me?
Just on that note with dating me, I find it interesting because a lot of times I find that we look for the external stuff to kind of like resolve what we truly want inside. And so we expect, I think I said this on a Facebook message, that a lot of times we expect the other party to make us happy. Like, we're always empty, and the other party expects us to make them happy. So then no one at the end of the day is ever gonna, you know what I mean, fulfill. And so self-love, I'm always a promoter of that. Mental health, I think that's huge. Before we ever enter a relationship, we should be full first, I think, so that we can even date someone like ourselves. Just to JT and V's point. Yep.
I agree. I
think I need love. I need to find someone. Oh my God, what do I do?
All right, so I have a next question, which comes actually from a viewer, and I'll just I'm highlighting it right here, so hang on. Who wants to go first?
Which double standards are acceptable in a relationship? Net.
Can I get an example or something? Like
Let's go with the youth first.
Me? I'm just reading the question.
No, I'm talking about Net. Since she hasn't spoken and she's the youngest. Let's hear it from the youth.
I don't know. Can I please have somebody else go first and not
May the Wi-Fi be with you.
You know what? I actually have a good response to this.
So forget about it, cuz.
Wow.
Vin, what are your thoughts?
I'll pass the buck for this one. I'll come back on the next round.
Nobody want? Okay, V.
I think double standards are entirely just like frustrating to either gender. You know, like for men, it's like, you know, women could get access and do things because they're pretty or they're beautiful or, you know, they have more and they're women. So they get to play the fluid masculinity, femininity thing. Once they want independence, they can play the masculine role. And when they want something done for them, like they don't want to lift this or they don't want to work, they're just like, hey, oh my God, I'm so tired. I feel sick today, blah, blah, blah. You know, so, and guys can't really do that. We get frustrated over that type of stuff because we have to pull your weight, our weight, and then we don't get appreciated for it. And that's where the problem comes when it comes to being the double standard. Men get more frustrated at the situations. Now, women complain about not having certain, you know, they complain about the money thing. I'm sitting there like, you guys don't even take the same jobs. We're out here trying to kill ourselves to get money. And you guys will never take the same jobs, but you're complaining about the wage gap. And that's really weird to me. So, but that's coming from a man's point of view. I'd rather hear from a woman's point of view.
I don't know about that because I've been across the demographic of working the same job multiple of you guys have worked, and I don't know. I've worked construction. I've been in auto, so that part I don't understand because although let me back you up, I've seen it where they be like, "Oh, this is too heavy," and I'm really sitting there like, "Really? You don't want to pick up a 20-pound bag because it's too heavy?" I'm sitting here with a broken arm, and you complaining about a 20-pound bag.
I only do that if the man is cute.
There you go.
At least we know your priorities and standards are straight.
Like, I can't. I sit back and look at that like it's pathetic. But then you get mad when you don't get a man who does this, and when you do get a man, you don't appreciate him. So bounce off of you. Yeah, there are some out there who are like that, but not all of us.
Jamie, can I take the buck real quick? Bring it right back so I can answer this question. I think that, you know, which double standards are acceptable in a relationship, it's acceptable if it works. And so it goes back to that first point I was kind of bringing back earlier. If the man decides to be a stay-at-home dad and one wants to work, if it works in that relationship, it's going to work. It's going to be beautiful. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if it's an agreement, if it works, it's acceptable, I think. And it's based on case-by-case basis in the relationship. It's up to them. There's no way there's anything that's generally accepted in a relationship.
No, we agree with that, but that's like you're talking about a one in a million situation. Like that's not a real life, real general situation. It doesn't happen normally. You know what I'm saying? That's not realistic to me. I live in the real world. That's probably why people see me at a crash, because I'm always talking about that shit don't really happen in real life. Maybe to your dick, but not mine. I mean, it's like I say. I mean, think about it. Like, you know, not too many women are gonna be like, "Yeah, I got you, boo. Let me go get this money and fight the world to come back. You be my peace, baby." You're fucking right. Like,
No. I think if you're in a relationship and like, okay, let's say hypothetically you and I are together and you're holding things down. If something happened to your health, I'm going out there to get it for our family. So I think you know what I mean? So in that case, I'm not gonna just let my man, whom I'm saying I love, and I want to be with you and spend my life with you, and I respect you and you respect me, to say, oh yeah, but by the way, you're broken down, but you still need to go out there and get it? Mm-mm.
No. But there are women out there that will not respect you if you lose your job, and they will trade you and replace you the moment
in a heartbeat.
In a fucking heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
Okay? You can say that, but generally, women will replace you if you can't work.
I mean, that goes both ways. It goes both ways. I mean, men can, you know, treat women disposably as well. So a woman can treat a man disposably, and a man can treat a woman disposably.
A man can only
So-
treat disposably if they have the resources and funds to do so. When they're high status, high role, high money, fucking big
Sure.
dick,
And
six pack.
that's part of the game.
other way around is
That's
not
part of the
working.
game.
Let's be real.
Let me add a
Like,
real life
the
example. This
lifestyle,
time.
the money, that's all part of the game. Where one man might have built this, and then fine, you have a woman that has the beauty, and she gets certain privileges that go with that. But then there's also like that. I hate to say this, but it's kind of like a modern social reality. There's a certain wall that is hit at a certain age, right? And you lose that. But a man does it. So you can complain like, oh, I'm not getting it, and you're just in your 20s. But when you're in your 30s and 40s, you just continue. You can, not all men, but continue to acquire resources, right? And that doesn't necessarily play into a woman's ability to maximize her dating chances. So this kind of bitterness to like, oh, just because I'm in my 20s and I don't have as much dating prospects. I mean, trust me, I hear that a lot from my students. But it's like, maybe you're not at your peak right now, but you can be later, right?
And if I could just add earlier to Vee's point, a real life example actually. So my dad served in the Vietnam War, stepped on a landmine, blew his leg off. My mom took care of him 3 years straight, wiping his shit, took everything, and it made it work 50 years plus, counting today, 6 kids later. So
That's
one in a
why
million.
But hold on. But look at the generation.
But I'm with you though. I feel what you're talking about.
But I see both sides. But listen to what you just said. You said your mom and dad. Look at their generation compared to the generation now. It's completely different.
Well, of course, Shalon, of course. Different generations, but still the concept's the same. It's all about that human effort and what is your character and how are you going to invest in that relationship.
You are so sweet, brother. Oh my God, you are a good fucking man. You are like, there's a halo on top of you. I respect and
I
love
don't
you.
think you can put a generational thought on that because
Get this man a woman.
Like, I'm really young. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I'm 22. I'm very young, and I decided in my career to move to Asia and teach English. Over there in Asia, English teachers are the breadwinners. I was talking to a guy that lives close by, and we were actually going to move back to Asia together in 2023. And since I would be the breadwinner, he would have been the stay-at-home person. So it's not generational. I would have been there, the breadwinner, of course. Like, my career would have let me be that in Asia. So I don't think it's a generational. I think it's a by person at that point. Because, like I said, I'm 22, and we had that plan.
Well, like you just said it. You said it's by person. That is the situation. Everyone, when you're in a different situation, the person makes the situation. So really, when it comes down to it, it's a matter of priorities and how much effort you want to put into it.
Not only that, how much of your pride will and will not get in the way.
Ooh, she hit on something with that pride.
I mean, pride will kill anybody, men and women.
Ooh, Dan, you have a pretty smile. Sorry, I'm so off topic.
So but
y'all trying to smile now.
I do feel double standards are viewed. It's very subjective.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
They taste issues.
You can smile, Jamie. It's okay. It was funny.
I'd like this. Okay, I have a question. The next question I will highlight right here. Hang on.
Wait. Right before you ask that, I'm just reading some of the comments. So Moko says, as someone with 20 years of experience of healthcare, men abandon women more during chronic illness. Research proves it. Based on what I do agree, but also it depends on your demographics of where you live at and also your income too. That makes a big difference of these stats. So if your demographics and your statistics are based off just one pool, you can't generalize the entire nation, say all men are like that too, right? Because it goes back to it is situational. It is very subjective. Sorry, just had to point that out. Want to shout out to Mocha
for providing that statistic. I didn't know that, so I learned something new.
And Mocha, you can join us.
Yeah.
Mocha, you can. I know you're watching this, so you can definitely join us. You can join us. It's all love here.
Come on.
We can talk about the fuckboy situation now too.
No. Oh, hell no.
Your favorite fuckboy is in the house.
Man, again, I have to play this.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Remember what happened last time? God damn it. All right, hang on. Wait. Let's move on to the next question.
I love my
Well,
mom.
next question.
Why is it deemed okay for men to
For
seek
women
men with
to seek
money,
men.
but doesn't happen when a man seeks one? Oh, I asked that question. Forgot. Tasha, can you read that? It sounds better when a woman says it.
Sure. Why is it deemed okay to seek men with money, but does not happen when a man seeks a woman for money?
Because they living in a fantasy world.
The women or the men?
Living in the material world. I'm sorry.
Like you don't like, for example, going to an NBA game, right? I used to play semi-pro ball. I have friends that are NBA players. We see women flock. I'm talking about flock.
They living
Like,
in a fantasy world. They look
correct, but
figure. I want to stay at home. I want to take trips. It's a fantasy world.
yeah, and then these weak ass men that got money entertain that, and that gives them that power. But you don't see men hanging out at Team USA volleyball team trying to holler at a woman because it's not gonna work. Because it's like, I ain't gonna try to date you. You just a teacher, or you a magician, or you just a Jedi. It's not gonna work. You know, like I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not no disrespect to like women. I mean, men can be this way. In words of Chris Brown, these hoes ain't loyal. That's when it comes down to it. Money takes over everything, and it pulls the evil out in people.
Okay, can I add something to that? And this is my personal experience. And he was Asian, but he was highly upset that I made more money than him. Highly. I
mean, I see it happening here in Hollywood occasionally. You'll have like a young guy like go with like a cougar, you know, that has money. It is definitely out there. And one might even say it has grown, but it's still like a very slim sliver of society where that's happening. And I think it is just from a male's point of view, it honestly doesn't matter what your career is. Like, so long as you're educated and, you know, have a good personality and there's attraction, like a lot of guys simply don't care unless it's like maybe she makes more money than him. You know, we don't search out a woman for her job. That's not like a criteria. I'm not saying it's not a criteria for every guy out there, but it's not as important to other factors. So you see it happening, but it's pretty rare.
I mean, I'll be honest. I do chase women for specific jobs, and I don't say I discriminate everyone, but I do look for women that are in a position that help people. I feel that's very admirable and it's very attractive.
That's harkens to their personality, right? You're not necessarily looking for, you know, like you said, like the Olympian that's making, you know, $1 million contracts or whatever. It's just not a priority for guys. I don't think.
I know you're right. The priority being transparent, not saying just me, but I'm going to speak for most of the men. We're going to the Olympic Games for the volleyball team because they're hot. That's why we're going there. We're not going there for the money. We're going there for the attraction. Yeah. We're going for that.
But then you also have to think about it. I think me and Tasha the same age. We grew up, you need to have a man who have this, that, and the third, this much money. So when everything falls, y'all have that cushion. Not you have that cushion, but y'all have that cushion. You also got to take that into consideration too.
But see, now the tables have turned. Women are just as wealthy as men, more than ever, and women are just more powerful than men at times. A woman with money won't give a guy a time in a day.
That's a lie.
Really?
I think they would, but I don't think they'll be satisfied in the relationship because of the respect. You still have to respect your man to kind of love him or a woman. Exactly. This is my opinion. I'll keep it at that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a two-way street. Like, you know what I'm saying? A woman don't have to come with a job or education. She just come with. For me, she has to come with just good looks, really good pussy. The shit don't stink, and she dress well. You know, she's friendly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to be honest, that's what we're looking for. That's all the standards that most guys look for. You know what I'm saying?
But there are some women who are looking for the same thing, Vee. I
But
don't
that's
care.
yeah, no, they are looking for the same thing. But the women's standards are way more vast than the guys. Guys are pretty simple. We just want that. Women want way more.
They're chasing the financial dream. That's what they are. Let's just be real.
It's the checklist.
It
Man
is.
has to do it.
And women, okay, we're a lot more emotionally triggered than you all. That's just genetically.
Really? I
So
think men.
we're just keep me happy in the bed and slap it on me every night, and whatever that is. We're like, I want to be mentally connected to you, so I can slap it on you, and you ain't leaving this house until I give it to you good because I'm mentally and emotionally tied to you.
I agree with you, but I feel the majority of women I've seen, working from Hollywood and working with, basketball players and athletes, the women that I see, they don't care about that stuff. They just care about where you can take me, is he financially set, etc., which is fine, to each his own. But at the same time, it's like after a while, that's not going to fly anymore. I'm just being very real about it. Like it is deemed, and it seems like it is okay for women to be like that. Like kind of like what Melly and you said. I agree. Like back in the day, the generation was telling our young girls, you need to find a good man, XYZ, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. No, I'm telling my daughter, you need to become a scientist, a doctor. You need to learn jujitsu. You need to learn how to break a dude's arm off. He's trying to rape you, or even a woman now these days. Like I want my daughter to be very powerful and strong and educated and have self-confidence and not worry about somebody else all the time, but build with somebody versus looking for a handout.
Well, I could fix this in one sentence. Tasha and Melly, are you telling your sons the same exact thing you're telling your daughters?
Ooh.
Yeah, actually.
Find a woman with big money and like all that can take care of you. Really? You're not. Come on.
No.
Sorry. Why y'all doing this? Why y'all gonna get me out of character real quick?
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Wait, I'm trying to hear the question.
He said, are you telling your son the same thing you're telling your daughter? I have 2 girls and a son. So I can honestly say yes. And that's coming from a woman who's been in a relationship.
You're telling your daughters, you're telling your daughter and you tell your son, go find that person to take care of you, make sure they got this shit together.
Oh, no, that. No. You take care.
That's what I'm trying to understand the question before I answer, because I'm not walking into no traps. I need to know what you said.
Why you think I'm trapping you? I'm not trapping. Why this?
I'm messing with you, V. I'm messing with you.
That's dead. That's dead and gone.
So, I'm sorry, Mel, I didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted to hear what you had stated, what you're telling your children, and I'll be more than happy to tell you what I'm telling my children.
No, they have to get their own. Have your own money. Do for yourself before you go ask anybody else to do for you. Because if you can't do for yourself, you can't expect everybody else to do it for you.
I agree. For me and my daughters, and same thing. I have 2 daughters and a son. So my thing with my girls are grown. So my thing with my daughters were, get your own. I don't give a damn if you get a degree in dog grooming, have your own, because one thing they can't take away from you is your mind. And when you do go to mate, be careful of their DNA. I'm keeping it 100 because your children, they're going to have that in them too. But look for someone that can meet you right where you're at. And he doesn't have to be the top, but at least have something going on for himself where he's aspiring, not just your potential. Because some of us women, I've been guilty of it, we fall in love with potential. And then he never amounts to shit. So meet someone who's not just has potential, but he's aspiring to do something. I don't tell my children just to go out there and be with somebody with money. I done been with men with money. There's a lot that you got to pay for. It ain't free, baby.
Mm-hmm. And what
you just cheat on you a lot. That's all.
It's not always about cheating. It could be something that's not necessarily cheating, but it could be the fact that I make all the money, or I'm the celebrity, or I'm the whatever. So you kind of have to bow down and do. There's a lot. It's mental too. It's not just a physical thing. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes with that. So unless you're not willing to pay that price, because you're not always going to get a gem, you're not going to always get you're just not going to always get that diamond. You're going to end up with some coals and some hard shit sometime. So if you feel that it's worth it to you, then go right ahead. But
I just wonder I mean, I just wonder, are we teaching our kids, especially our daughters, that relationships are healthy at all in the first place? And I don't think we are. When we tout independence, we're not, in a way. We're saying take care of yourself. It's not safe out there. And the roles have to be met, but no one knows what roles are going to be playing, and it gets kind of sticky. And that's the problem I'm seeing, and that's why like marriage rates are going down, relationship, shit's going down the fucking drain.
I agree.
Even dating is like it's not the same world.
I agree. I think it's hard, Vee, when you're raising kids and you want to teach your, like, I think in your heart as a parent, you really want to teach your children these things. You want them to be balanced, mentally healthy, physically, spiritually, emotionally healthy beings that you're sending out in the world. Because I think sometimes as parents, we forget that we're raising whole individual people who are going to have their own mindset. No matter what you teach them, they're going to make their own decisions one day in life. And they're going to be accountable for it. That's another thing I try to teach my children. You can't blame your parents for the rest of your life for how your life did or did not work out for you. Because at the end of the day, there's going to come a point where you made a decision, and that was your decision for your life. I had to suffer the consequences, be it good or bad, for the decisions I made. I couldn't still blame my mom and dad for that. I made that decision, and I knew damn well what I was doing. So it's a tough balance. I agree with you. I don't know the answer. I don't know how to fix it. So I guess that's why we're all here on this panel, to figure out how do we help each other be better.
Right on, Tasha.
Tasha, to that point, that was a beautiful point, and I just have to say,
right on. Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Move on to the next topic. But number one, I don't have kids. But number two, I've heard from this one talk show where this guy was asking this guru, so how do you raise your kids? And this is what he says. He says, I don't raise my kid. Raising is for like livestock, animals. I cultivate my child to be the person she gonna be. And I was like, okay, step back. That was it. That was it for me. That was how I'm gonna raise my kids when I do have kids. It's not raise, cultivate.
Yeah, that word makes the delivery and the meaning it makes a big difference, because typically when we think of raise, we're thinking about like grooming.
Right.
But cultivating is a whole nother. It's a more sophisticated and empowering level.
well, Vin just came out of the woodwork after being quiet for a long ass time. So you know what we got to do.
Surprise, motherfucker.
That's you. That's you.
How come there's no Asian clips?
I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying. Hey,
No,
look, Hollywood doesn't like us. Shang-Chi doesn't come out for another month, so I don't have anything. Relax.
And that's a great topic, being in film.
You ever seen the one where like Lee says at the end, like, say, ain't no one is bitch, like, and then starts whipping ass on top of the mountain of men or something like that? Like,
I got another question from our viewers. Mr. Tran, I would like for you to lead off this one.
I mean, is that a question of do you like Asian men discriminating or the discrimination against Asian men? Because both happens, right?
Right. Well, okay, probably not so much a question. I guess I probably should have rephrased it. I guess just like topic for discussion. What are your thoughts on that?
Can I turn it into a question to
Sure.
JT? So JT, with your background in dating, you're profound. Are most of the men that is all predominantly Asian? Is that correct?
Yeah, the majority, not exclusively, but the majority.
And then the women that they tend to pick are Asian as well? Or are they black women? Are they white women? Spanish?
The majority of women that they've ever dated in their entire life are Asian, and they either still think that they only want to date Asian, but then they're like, the other part is like, oh, maybe I should start dating outside. But that's the thing. Like, I have to convince my students to date outside of their race because the majority don't want to, because that's the way they were raised.
Damn, I haven't dated an Asian girl since 2000.
Yeah,
shows my age.
I would say this when it comes to, again, just speaking specifically to the Asian male experience. Universally, Asian men and any man hates being rejected. There's that fear of being rejected, what we call approach anxiety, but also and I think this is a bit more unique to the Asian male experience, especially in this post-pandemic era where, you can face a lot more physical harassment being an Asian man. And I've experienced it myself. Is the second closest fear that my Asian male students experience is they're going to get beat up by other men, black men, white men, Latin men, if they approach that girl. Like I've had students completely terrified.
I wish a bitch would.
That's when you got to own your own Asian stereotype. But come on, man, you got to know something about martial arts or something.
Yeah, but realistically, again, maybe it's just confirmation bias. But my students aren't the guys that are training at MMA and doing boxing and weightlifting, right? So there's a little bit of self-selection there. But there is a little bit of fear that if he tries to go up to that black girl or he tries to go up to that Latina, he's going to get beat up by those guys who like claim that type of women. But again, I always tell them, they see a beautiful black woman, go approach her, because they're going to be surprised. Because I think the majority of time, not all the time, but the majority of time, if they've done even a decent approach, black women give Asian men more slack, more time of the day, if you will, than any other group of women. And so my students will be like, oh my God, she liked me. I'm like, yes, right? And it blows their mind. And then they start to experience like, this is their first time they might be able to date outside their race. They don't have to experience that kind of fear or anxiety that is really possible. Not just possible, but maybe there's even a preference there, right? But there are all these kind of like boundaries and levels of fear internally. But yeah, there's also like, colorism and racism that exists in the Asian community. And that's something that we have to, as a community, face. But me as a coach, I just try to like help them overcome the anxiety or fear, and to show them like, it's not only easier, but it can be more rewarding to date outside of your race.
It's funny you say that. I do feel personally on my end with my history, I do feel success rate of being with a woman with black women, because they understand, like, so the stuff that I grew up with, we live in the same, similar demographics, the stuff that we went through, black women understand that. When I approach that with a white woman, some Spanish, but some Asian women, they just don't understand, and that privilege definitely stands out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember having a student, complete fob, fresh off the boat, heavy Asian accent, fobby hair, fobby clothes, fobby teeth. You can tell he was a complete fob. And I told him to go to this attractive black woman, and behind her was this black bouncer. He's like, wait a minute, he's gonna like beat me up. It's like, he's not with her. That's just a bouncer, right? Just because they're both black doesn't mean they know each other, right? And so he goes up to her, and he says in his heavy Asian accent, he goes, "You are fucking beautiful," and it worked, right? It just kind of blows that person's mind, and she was really receptive, and he had like a really long conversation, got a number, and that was literally the first time he'd ever like talked to like an African American person in a personal romantic setting outside of any kind of school or work setting, right? And it's just getting people to do that when maybe they've just stayed in their Asian enclave for like the majority of their life.
So real quick, there's a comment on here. So someone's asking about, so since we're talking about discrimination and generalization and stuff like that, so what keywords should I add to my dating profile to attract Asian men without being weird or becoming unattractive to others? Later on, they put down, should I put Tai Chi in your profile? No, come on, that like, I feel like you're just straight up, excuse my language, I know I shouldn't cuss, but that's straight up fucking trolling at that point. Like, that's like saying, hi, you like white rice? You eat a chicken? Get the fuck out. Come on, we're human people, like, talk to us. But I do feel keywords in a dating app just saying you're open to date, you're open to all ethnicities, or you're into just straight up
one set line. It says, I date interracially. I don't tell them that my preference is black, because there are a lot of white girls hitting me up too. But you know what I'm saying, I say that just to say I'm open to it. That's all you need to say, because I don't like this label shit. And I think this is why humanity is so fucking dumb to me. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, people always like clouding off to their fucking race, their culture is bullshit. Like, how about you be yourself? How about you be as an individual? How about you learn about yourself, know yourself, your core self, outside of this race culture bullshit, and then you address that. And
there you go.
Somebody. That's what the fuck you do. Know the fuck yourself. Very simple.
I'm not.
I mean, I agree with that in principle, but I think the actual application reality is much more intricate and difficult than that. When you have someone, again, you have to realize, like, I teach a lot of different types of Asian men, like foreign born here, like raised here but not born here. So having that sort of self-reflection, self-analysis, psychological Maslow's hierarchy is much more common here in America than, say, someone born overseas.
I agree with
It'd
that.
be like, oh, just be yourself. It's nice and it's authentic advice, but for someone who hasn't had that sort of self-reflection, it isn't really useful for them, right? It is true and honest. I agree with you, but it is not that useful for someone who hasn't done that work or even been culturally or linguistically exposed to that language. What's someone that was born in China, mainland China, gonna know about any of what you were just saying if they moved here just like 5 years ago?
I can see that. I can see how where a person can be self-actualized on that level because they're not cultured. I get that. You know what I'm saying? We do live in a third world country and we do have a lot more access to westernized philosophy and stuff. I get it. But, it's not like the information's not out there. It's not like the internet does not exist. It's there. It's all you have to do is search. So
people don't search. The problem is they listen to everyone else on Facebook. And then a lot of those people are just obviously, not the smartest cookies in the world.
Yeah, Vin, what are your thoughts on that?
I was just gonna say something to back B up. If I go through a profile and says I like Asian men, message me right there, and that's a big turn off for me. Sometimes if it's just like that, it's clear. Okay, hey, there's no buts. Straight to the point. You like Asian men? Let's go. But I'm just saying.
Literally. To touch on the Tinder part of things, Tinder literally lets you add music. This is what I do, and I don't mean to sound crazy, but Tinder lets you add music through Spotify. So I just put up like an Asian American artist, and I realized like I live in a PWA, primarily white area. Like I can't help it. So I'm like a cocoa buff in a bowl of milk. I can't so I have to put something specific in there. Let it be a song. He's an Asian American artist, Keshi. I put him in my song list. Like okay.
We don't give a fuck about Keshi.
Like it's a possibility.
It might be a possibility. It's not a probability. If I like, let's think about it outside the box. If I like a girl, she happens to be black, and that's my preference. You think I'm listening to Keshi? No, I'm listening to Cardi. Okay, there's a difference. All right, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird.
My age group is different than yours.
Finish your thought, Nettie.
You don't listen to Keshi as much as my generation or the people that I want to attract would.
Who's Keshi? Kesha?
Yeah.
My particular Vietnamese American artist.
Oh, ketchup.
Sorry.
My particular advice for women is if they're trying to attract Asian men in an online platform, is first you have to decide what kind of Asian man that you're trying to go for. Again, we are not a monolith. What might attract an Asian American man, might repulse an Asian man who's born overseas and vice versa. I know a lot of Asian American men who might be turned off by your profile saying, I only date Asian men because, they might think it's a fetish. They might think it's weird, whatever. But someone born in China trying to make his way here in America be like, oh, this girl, is trying to understand my culture, or maybe put in like, whatever kind of Chinese, Mandarin, or kanji, like Japanese or Vietnamese, language phrases in your profile, then you're aiming towards and alerting those Asians that you appreciate, like that culture and those type of Asian men. But you also have to accept that you might not get an Americanized Asian man who isn't as in tune with like the motherland culture, right? So you kind of have to accept who you targeting, right? And then that might require more subtlety because I know a lot of Asian American men are repulsed by BTS. But for someone overseas who might be like Korean, might be like, oh, I love BTS too. I love like Blackpink and all that. And so you just have to accept what type of Asian man are you going for, and then bait that hook, right?
Like if you want to do the Korean dudes with the mascara and eyeliner, go for it, bro. Take it off.
That's a vampire right there. That's
I mean, that's still. I mean, guys, I know it gets around a lot, and I don't do it myself, but that's still a valid form of Asian masculinity, right? Masculinity evolves and it changes, and just because that's there now may evolve over time, but whatever. It's like, the what is masculine now here in America was not masculine 20 years ago. It evolves, it changes.
There's a question. Are there Asian men who like chubby Black women? Guys?
Yes.
First of all,
They're up there.
can we capitalize the A in Asian and the B for Black, for crying out loud?
Hold on. Okay, I'm glad this question was brought up. I'm glad. Please describe your version of a BBW. Please, for those who want to know.
Are you asking us?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a guest who's asking, do Asian men like chubby Black women?
Jamie, you kind of quiet there.
Oh no, sorry, I was just listening to y'all. No, I personally I do. Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with them. So the answer is yes, I do. In general, I like curvier women because there's more to grab onto, there's more to slap, there's more to smack. Like I'm a very physical person, so I have no issue with that. But yeah, how about the rest of y'all? Vin, what do you think?
Next.
Yeah, I was with a girl who was, I wouldn't say chubby, I would say curvy, and that, yeah. But I mean, that's all I got, actually. I don't know why I'm just, that's all I'm going to say. I got nervous for a second there. A little shy.
Why did you say that name?
I don't know. I'm just shy now. You got me all shy. I'm single right now, y'all.
He likes sandwiches, walks on the beach, puppies.
Oh, you know it. Riding horses. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about you, Shellen?
Oh,
and
me?
And Vee, she wants to know from all of you, there's different perspectives. Like, what does that look like if you are attracted to women who are fuller figures?
I personally could say that I see Asian men can like chubby Black women. Like, why not? Or just chubby women in general. I mean, if you're asking me personally, I'll be dead honest. I go for the face. So you got to have a pretty face to me. I can't wake up looking to someone that looks like Shrek to me. Like I find there's got to be a level of attraction and sex appeal there. But because I am an ex-athlete, I would like my partner. They can be chubby, but fitness got to be a priority in health. That's who I am, and so I mean, you could be chunky, that's fine. I'm still gonna love you, but if you sitting there and not trying to work out, not doing anything, it's not gonna work out. Like the lifestyle just doesn't fit with me as well. Just out of full transparency, like health is a big thing for me, especially in the time right now.
Okay, coming to me. I guess I'll be real, and again, coming from just a larger background, yes, there are Asian men who like chubby Black women, but I think if we're gonna be realistic, those Asian men who are born in Asia, I've literally had students tell me this when they came to America, they for the first time realized women came in sizes bigger than medium, right? Asian men, Asian culture, the weight difference is very significant between like Asia and America. So you'll have men that's their first time seeing it. Some of it are going to be turned on by that, and a lot aren't though, because that's not the way in that environment that they were raised, the sexual archetype that they were raised with. If you as a woman fit that archetype and you are interested in Asian men, I would say then go after Asian American men who are raised in America. You're more likely to have success that way. To find those men who like your physical body type. And as to the question of mine, I have dated like 2 Ethiopian American women that were tall and slim in Dallas. So in general, like my own preference, I date tall and slim. Like I go for like 6 foot tall women that are slim. That's my personal type, regardless of color. So I have that's my kind of criteria if you're simply basing on physicality.
Don't sit there and be shy now. Come on.
Exactly, B.
Come on.
I've been around the block. I've been with all types of women. I will say that I do. I mean, I prefer pretty women. Um, but sometimes it's the personality. There's always something attractive about a woman. But me, if you go through my pictures on Facebook, I'm pretty sure you guys will figure out what kind of girls that I've dated as of late. So, but I've seen, I know dudes who love big girls. I see it all the time. I'm like, and there's some girls out there, some fine ass big girls that give them these little skinny girls some go too. So I don't know. Like,
It's all about the chemistry when it comes down to it. If you have that chemistry and you have sex appeal and that person finds you attractive, it doesn't matter what you're going to look like at that point. You're going to be attracted to them. Like she could pick her nose and I think it's like attractive. I'm like, hey, you know what? I like that. I don't know. That's not real. I was making that up.
I'm a big dude too. So like, at COVID, I was 285. I'm 250 now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a small dude. I'm a big ass motherfucker. Like, so it's like
I want to flip this question now that we went through all the guys. Women in here on either side of me, what body type do you prefer?
Ooh, good question. Go ahead, Dan.
Height. I get that a lot. Height. Short Asian men, tall Asian men. Muscular or slim?
Doesn't matter.
That's a good answer.
Doesn't matter. As long as you got that personality, what was the last post I say? Depending on the location of the personality, there's no refund.
For me, I gotta be attracted to you. I can deal with height. I can deal with a little chubby. I'm a shoulders and arm type of woman. So I want to hold on to your arms. I like your shoulders. And that comes in thin men and it comes in buff men and even chubby. But I have this right here. I'm gonna have to agree. I don't want to roll over and be like, God damn, I gotta put a bag on this motherfucker's head once again.
A butterface? A butterface?
Yeah. I want to be the woman that rolls over and be like, "Ooh, thank you, God. That's mine. And he gonna get this morning. Let me wake him up." But that's me personally. So I'm attracted, and I love intelligence. I love a man who's smart, who will actually help me work out, because I can be a couch potato at times. But my biggest thing, and I think I've said this one, really meeting someone who can meet me right where I'm at, and we have that organic chemistry, and we can grow together and help each other to be a better individual, not because I'm not one, but because we're together. I want to be even better with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get me a man, y'all. Come on.
She got cannons, y'all.
Hey, don't be inboxing me later on. None of y'all. Don't be inboxing me later on.
So I have one thing that I saw in the comments a few minutes ago. We missed it, but this is an interesting one. And V and JT, I specifically want to start with you both, you gentlemen. So here it is.
Oh, hey, song.
Who wants to go first?
Should we read it out loud? Why base your preference in a partner based on a color? There are women out there that are open to dating Asian men that don't act like a stereotypical Asian man, which I've heard about myself. Is it the attitude or she's not? It's a good question. Very good question.
I personally don't apply attitude or to stereotypes, because that's all it is. We're just associating bullshit to color, which is kind of stupid. It's absolutely asinine, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Every person is different. I personally, in my adolescence, I grew up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? I have all the statistics of someone's baby daddy. I've been locked up for a long time. So it's like, what I ascribe to is what I kind of know. And I don't know if my preference comes from how I came up or just being used to it. Like, I've never dated a white woman. I've never dated an Asian woman. Okay. Not to say that there are none that are attractive to me. It's just that I find personally stereotypical this black woman in general more attractive because I'm used to it, maybe. And I don't know. I can't control what my preference is. You know what I'm saying? If a person is sexy, they're sexy regardless. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about relationship. I mean, color doesn't really matter. It's who they are and how they fit you. That's really at the end of the day. And really, I mean, I take it back to actualization. Know who you are. Is this person authentic and genuine enough to convey who they are, and is it a fit? That's really what attraction finally is, And then you have to decide: is this person 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or somebody I want to spend the rest of my life with, somebody I can grow with? I mean, that's those are the big questions.
Exactly.
Would you date a white girl, V?
This is gonna sound so bad. I probably won't. I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't. And I know that sounds very bad, what I'm saying. And I will say that, saying like I don't know if I can control my preference when it comes down to that. I've had a lot of attractive white women come at me, a lot, especially in DC area. And you see the inbox, right? It's crazy. Like, they're there. It's just that I don't find them. I don't, maybe they don't match my traumas. I don't know, but but I mean, we're talking psychobabble. But I'm just saying, like, I just as of right now, I am not evolved enough, maybe as a person, to open myself up.
V, just out of curiosity, how old are you again?
I'm 42. Everyone thinks I'm in my 20s.
Asian now. It's the Asian fountain of youth.
So I would say,
nigga, you at least 30.
Reggie, man.
I think I'm prison preserved. Prison probably preserved me. I came home and I was more healthy than not. I did a lot of unhealthy things when I did come home, per se. But I lived in a vacuum. When you had to kind of everything had to be to survive. It had to be a certain physique and a physical ability, or you die. It's just how it is. I don't know how to say that any other way. But when I came home, I was like cheesecake, everything in my mouth. You shove it in there, I put it in there, motherfucker. I'm eating it, and then I blew the fuck up. So it's like, hey.
Yeah, JT, your thoughts?
I don't know if I'm quite understanding the question, but if I can take the inverse of this, it depends on the environment that the Asian man is in, right? If he's raised in Asia, he's gonna have a certain preference. So, assuming now we're all in America, if he's working in an environment that is predominantly both Asian, because that's his family, his social circle, and he works in a white environment, just the law of averages say if he's going to date outside of his race, it will be for a white woman, just simply because of the environment, right? So if you're a Black woman trying to get with Asian men, you would want to congregate in those areas where there are a lot of Asian men, right? In whatever form that takes, whether it's going to Asian clubs or, wherever that is, in order to put yourself out there to catch the eye, to get approached, or maybe, quite honestly, probably you'd have to approach if they aren't as aggressive in approaching as, say, like a white guy, right? So sometimes it's just a matter of the immediate environment that Asian man is in. Like literally, if you only are surrounded by Asian women and white women, just the law of averages dictate that's just who you're going to end up dating.
Yeah, Tasha?
Okay. Now you hit on something. It's not just about where you're at, JT. It's also about what society portrays as beautiful. They don't portray Black women as beautiful. They don't portray us as sexy. They portray white women, and Asian are next, and Latinas. So it's not just about, hey, and B, don't apologize because that's not your preference. Your preference is your preference.
Mhm.
So I don't believe anybody should ever apologize about their preference of what they like. Why should you? They're not apologizing for theirs. But I also agree, we live in a society and we have grown up in a society that even in other countries, they're looking at the white woman as the goddess of all goddess. I want to bleach my skin. And that's talking from Black communities to Asian communities. I want to be that light porcelain and I want to emulate a white woman because that's what the world has taught me subconsciously, that that's what beauty is. And that's bullshit.
I mean, I agree with you.
I'm
That's,
not knocking
I definitely agree
white
with you.
women. I have white women in my family. My daughter's half white. I'm not saying, but I'm also saying it's just not the demographic of just if I'm in an all white community or if I'm in an all Asian community. It's also what is being fed to the American people or anywhere in the world, that white women are absolutely the standard of what you need to be.
Well, I'm gonna sit here and counter that. I'm gonna counter it like this, and I'm gonna say it for people who date interracially specifically. We know that most people stick to their own race. You already know that, right? But the most people that don't date within their own race are unique in their own views and who they are. So we're not talking about the generalization. We're talking about the exception already. So, like me personally, I'm not gonna go to I mean, I go to all black clubs and stuff, but I'm not looking for a girl there. You know, so there might be one checking for me, but again, I go with JT's law of the averages. If you want to play that game, if I'm going hunting for a woman, to say for the night or whatever, or just to meet somebody, I go actually congregate where the white people are, because you'll find the black women who go there with those usually date white guys, and they open to date white guys. They're not that far from dating Asian guys. So statistically, probability, that's what I do usually, you know. But again, where you're looking for the exception of the rule in this community specifically. Now, outside the game, who knows? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't give a fuck about my fine ass sisters. I mean,
dang, bro, you read my playbook. Because I do the same.
Okay, but you're stating that from an Asian, but so you're dismissing what I'm saying as a black woman. I don't grow up black all my life, baby. Gonna die black.
I'm not dismissing.
Hold on, I didn't interrupt you. Okay, I did not interrupt you, because you know you and I have these conversations, but it's a lot of love. We're just passionate about what we say. I'm just saying, Vee, this is my opinion. You cannot, for black women, you cannot rule out. You might be able to say this for another, but you cannot rule out that that's something that we have dealt with all our lives. JT brought up colorism. I wanted to circle back around that. Black women and black people in general deal with colorism within our community. So if we're going to talk openly about community, let's get real dirty with it. It is a standard, even if it's not what you believe is a standard.
I hear you. I know that
it is something that black women do deal with. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and I understand that black women feel that way. They feel that pressure and they feel that disbalance. However, that's an issue black women choose to take. This is what I'm saying. There's a difference in that. Okay, black women will use this as an excuse. They must love white women more. But if a person's looking for you, you're looking for an individual. You're not dating a culture. You're not dating an issue. You're not dating colorism. You're dating a person. Okay?
I agree.
If they're checking for you,
it's still a part of society. We can dance around it and we can paint it a pretty picture, but it's still part of a reality of a world that we all live in right now, Vee. I'm not saying that it's about culture. I totally agree with you. But this is part of you're real, I'm real. This is a part of a real reality that we're living in.
Well,
and that's why I'm saying, how do we get past it?
We don't have to get past it. It's been proven. You've been with a white man, right? He loved you. He thought you were beautiful. Asian, so therefore, that's all that matters.
The spectrum.
You know, I'm just saying, in general, I get that you feel that, but you know you lived a different life. You've proven the point of it.
It's not about what I feel. It's about what's reality for black women. I could feel a whole bunch of stuff. It's a reality.
It's another excuse to get in your own way.
After this is all over with, you and I are going to have a session and we're going to go find statistics, because we're both researchers. I already know. If you've got something to say, you're backing it up with something. So I'm not doubting what you're saying. I'm just saying, met somebody who's going to meet your match. It is a statistic for black women, and you can't ignore that dating black women.
I don't have those issues dating black women. I don't. And if
I'm not saying you have issues. I'm saying not dating black women and not being mentally aware that that goes on in the world, and that's something that they face. If you're loving her and she's loving you, some of the things that you might face based on your community, coming from an Asian community, because we're not going to talk culture, just community difference. Those are things that you have to think about when you're coming into this. I'm going to love you right through this together, but I want you to love me through the things that I'm experiencing in my community.
There might be a white woman out here very mad at me right now because I don't check for white women.
I don't care.
Okay, exactly. You don't care, and I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
But I'm just saying, it has something to do with society. I don't care. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think that's a topic that we can just dance over. And I get what JT and you are saying. Like, where you're at does make a difference. I totally get it. I'm a different woman. You know what I'm saying? I may not be the typical what they say black woman. I ain't got no big ass, but that doesn't mean I'm not a black woman. All I'm getting at is that is a part of reality. And there's certain things that in the community for Asian men, and that was one thing that I learned that you all deal with that we as black women don't know. And that's why we're here to kind of break some of those barriers down so we can understand one another better and really get to a place of truly loving one another.
So to kind of like not play middle ground, but to like really put things in context. So like in reality of it, everything that you both are saying, in my opinion, is absolutely right. You know, I mean, you should date someone for who they are, but the experience, the culture, their skin color, everything that they've gone through, the history, that's part of who they are, and you kind of have to kind of learn to accept that and understand and educate. But it's a two-way street where you have to communicate and let that be known. Now, going back to the discrimination, I don't think Song was making a jab at black women or anything like that, but I do feel personally like everyone's entitled to have their own preference, right? It's like, I hate to use cars and you say people are cars, like I prefer a Lexus, I wouldn't get that. But I feel when the moment someone says I would never date XYZ because they're Asian, because they're black, because they're white, then in a way it is kind of a subtle racism in a way. It's like it's a racial preference, right? But at the same time, you're entitled to do whatever you want. So in reality, it's the delivery of it. Now, speaking on statistics, based on my personal statistics, I actually posted this on my Instagram earlier today.
I'm gonna go look at it.
You saw it?
No, I'm gonna go look at it after this.
Out of 35 responses, a lot of people said the same thing about, oh, they were discriminated for XYZ. And I noticed a lot of times, at least coming from my background and some, other Asian people I talk to, a lot of the white women discriminate. I see it more, but I'll just bluntly say it. No offense to the white women. I love y'all out there. Everyone's cool. But I hear it a lot more, and you guys discriminate more than anyone else in reality. But, like I'll give you a good example. Like kind of like what Vee said, I'm surrounded by predominantly most of my friends are black background, right? Because I play basketball. I used to b-boy. I used to be in the dance scene, etc. But now, to see a white woman or to someone else, and then he'll be like, hey, I'm interested. No, I don't date Asian men. I just date black guys. I'm like, okay, that makes me feel great about a person. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I see that a lot more often, typically with white women. But, I mean, everyone says that at some point, and you can't generalize an entire race based off one person having a bad experience. And I feel like our society tends to do that way too much because of social media. It's amplified. It does come off as ignorant, right? But again, it goes back to each his own. Maybe that person is just not right for me. Then good. I'd rather not be with someone who says that, or who thinks like that.
I'm just looking at it from a very practical viewpoint, right? Why am I worried about what a motherfucker that's not checking for me is thinking or caring? I don't give a fuck. I just don't. It's like there's no need. Once a girl tells me I only date black guys, and I did it when I was young, and I still deal with it today, I'm like, all right, cool. All right, now we know where we're at. And if I don't, I'm fine with that. So, well, somebody checking for that ass. So like Tasha's like, I don't got a fat ass. I was like, well, somebody didn't pull out at least 3 times. I know about.
Yeah, they are.
So something must be good. So I mean, there's things you got to focus on that's realistic, and things that you don't have to focus on. If it's
I agree, Vee. I'm not saying that. I totally agree. I like your approach. I like your just straight to the point, transparent. Here I am. Either you the same thing. We're just saying the same thing in different ways. But all I was saying is I couldn't, as a black woman, and from the depth of my core, loving my community and other communities as well, let that go without being said of there are some things community-wise that we really do face as black women.
Can I just say something really quickly? Like I had this discussion with Melissa in our one-on-one interview a few days ago, and I just want to say one thing, and then you guys can continue. But it's kind of obvious statement. It's like no shit, but like I think preferences are fine. Of course, it's okay to have preferences. We're human. That's just a part of, like our DNA, right? That's just how we were made. But when you think about it, preferences are fine unless you're on the losing end of it. You know what I mean? And if you pull up, and Tasha, remember we discussed this point too. Like, obviously statistics show that Asian men and black women are like the least, right? ranked. But when you think about
Yeah,
it,
we
those
do.
people, right? When you think about it, Tasha, those people are fucking retarded, and they're
Yeah.
racist. They're flat out fucking racist. So who are the are those polls that are about online statistics? Are they polling people like us that look like me, that look like Vin, that look like Shaolin, that look like JT, that look like you, that look like Jeanette, that look like Melissa V? No, they're polling white people. They're polling Asian women. They're polling Latinas. They're polling I feel like just anybody that doesn't look like us, right? And so there's a very biased survey going on. There's a very biased study going on. That's why I don't remember which one of you I had this conversation with, but if you look, like overseas, like this really isn't that much of a problem anywhere but here. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
I've heard that before. Like that's a really good point. Like I've heard other people, and I've seen it in some of the community groups for AMBW or however you want to put it. But that was one thing that a young lady had said. She's like, when I came to this country, and she was a Black woman, she said, I didn't deal with some of the racism that I see in the country I'm from, like I see it here in America. Like some of the things that we face it's just not happening all over the world like that. I'm not saying that there's not racism in the other parts of the country or the world, but that was really interesting to me that she said some of the stuff that you guys are even having conversations about, I don't even think about. Like that's never even been a thought because it's never been something she's had to truly live through.
It's an American issue. It's definitely an American.
It's definitely an American issue. I mean, a lot of it has to stem with the way our country was developed, but also at the same time, the ignorance of we're a big melting pot. So it is, crabs in a barrel type mentality, not just for certain demographics, for everyone. So everyone's just shitting on everyone at some point.
Right. People divided. Like if race should be the most insignificant thing about a person, I say it all the time. But if you look at our government system, how schools work, you got to put on your race, you got to tick mark that thing. So they're forcing you to play a game that you don't really want to play, but you got to play. Then people feed into it. So now we're all different. And now where it's like, the battle of resources and the battle of attention, and that's again, race is the fundamental. Race as a label is a fundamental issue that bleeds out all the stuff, divides us and gives us issues that we really don't need. If we always focus on who we are as individuals, we wouldn't have to worry about these things, but we do.
But I'll say this, and I'll probably get slandered for saying this. I agree, but I feel the racism, personally, that I'm seeing it is not even from white people. It's from our own kind, from our own people of color, more than anyone else. Black, whites, or Black, Spanish, Asian. I see it more within our own, and that's what's destroying us more than
because we focus on so much. Like it's either a crutch or a source of power. But the problem is, it's a source of identity. When you apply it to your own identity, that's when you kind of lose yourself. You become part of the collective, right? And then all the collective issues you had to take on, and then you had to deal with. Whatever you say, maybe I'm not part of the collective. I am who I am. Doesn't matter what the fuck I am. Then all the issues kind of erase themselves, and you deal with core issues. I mean, I've been trying to talk about this and get to this for years, but people are still trapped in this. Hey, culture, race, blah blah blah. It's part of who I am.
I mean, as a country, the United States needs a huge healing to take place. Just global. I mean, as a country, we're in a. I mean, you're 42. I'm 50. I'll be 52. So and I've lived a half a decade, literally. I've never seen our world in the way that I've seen it right now, and it's scary to me. But as a country, yeah, we can do things individually, but as a country, there's a lot of healing that really needs to take place.
I think internationally, like Europe and Asia, more like a class and color system, right? And American society is very much a race-based culture. And I think that what I've seen, when you want to have as an African-American woman, the deep kind of conversation about race and imperialism, and that it's different if you're talking with someone who was born internationally. They aren't raised in that's steeped in the history where everything is race. Like America will never separate race from American history. It is literally in the DNA. It will never disappear. It's in the Constitution, right? Any talk of like, oh, we're going to get past it is naive. it's written into history, everything that we do. So when you're meeting someone that's an Asian man, like you can educate them, like an Asian, someone from China or Japan, and they're not gonna have that deep understanding of what you as an African American woman goes through unless you explain it to them, right? Their colorism is something that definitely exists in Asia, but they're not gonna have that deep understanding of all the nuances that goes on as a colored person in America. And I'm just throwing it out there, like it's a different conversation, which is why sometimes
it's more
men
what it really is.
just don't get it at all.
It's classism. It's elitism and classism. It's about money more than anything. They associate darker colors with being more poor and more lighter colors with being more rich.
Yeah, it's colorism.
That's where
here in America, class is race. Like whatever your race is your class. That's in America. While overseas, it's like class and colorism. I mean, there is a different stuff.
It is because it turned into a race thing because of the slavery. Because one thing a lot of people negate is that Asian people, predominantly Chinese people, were considered slaves too, that were brought over here in the 1700s, 1800s. A lot of people don't even know that because we built half the railroads, etc. So it came down to
the West Coast, and African slaves built it from the South. Yes, they were, and I think that's one thing.
It was during the
hang
gold
on,
rush.
Tasha, your audio is kind of muffled.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Better now. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but if we focus on the fundamental things, what slavery was about, it's about economics. It's about somebody taking free work from somebody and making them do the work for them and gaining economic from them.
So
that's what it is.
Yeah, you're right. So the racism that started from that was the people who established the country want to maintain their status by holding people down and keeping them in a certain situation that they're in, enslaving them, etc., and removing certain rights. Now we're in 2021. The racism, in my personal opinion, is racism still prevalent? Yes, it is. Do I see more of race hate? I see that more than racism. It's not about empowering a specific race over the other. It's about harming a specific race of who they are. And that's the part, especially as minorities, especially during the Black Lives Matter situation, it wasn't racism. It was race hate at that point. It was the ignorance of it. You know what I mean?
Well, even with the Asian crime, it's race hate. It's not just about harming. It's about killing. There's a big, you know what I'm saying? It's about literally taking somebody's life.
Yeah.
You know what I find really unfortunate. It's kind of off topic, but obviously, so I feel like Asian people for the longest time have not really been considered people of color, or at least I guess like on like a broad scale. The only time that were sort of portrayed in that light was when like Stop Asian Hate started happening. You know what I mean? When there were more Asian hate crimes, against us. People look like us. And I think that is really, really unfortunate. And for me personally, I don't really identify necessarily economically or financially more with white people. I just feel. Fuck what I just said. Never mind. I went way off topic. No, fuck that shit.
No. What you're saying was right. You know what I mean?
Hang on. I'm taking the L. So here's what I'm gonna say to myself.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
But what you're saying was like, so, I personally, growing up, I've always considered myself a person of color, right?
Mhm.
Especially the way I grew up. And a lot of it, in reality, I face a lot of racism from Eastern Asian people because I'm Southeast Asian. You know what I mean? Like, especially Chinese and Korean. Not saying they're all like that, but I see it a lot. I even see it in the BWAM community. Sorry, I'm not BTS. I don't look like Edward Cullen from freaking Twilight. I look like a vampire. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of thick. You know what I mean? So I'm like not petite and no ass and sorry.
Yeah, I do. Why? Okay, hang on.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think and I'm sorry, I'm gonna be done talking too. I think that's a great thing that you brought up, Charlotte, because of the fact we don't know that. We don't know that, and that's part of, again, that's why we're here, to break some of these barriers down so that we're not we're not carrying these things thinking that we know something that we really don't know. Like, I love that you all are talking about what you're experiencing in your own culture, even in our community. So I don't not talk about it. It helps us as Black women who are attracted to Asian men to have a better understanding of. And again, we talk. I think you and I talked about this in our meeting, the shy guy thing. When they sounded off, it wasn't about being shy. It was about what they had experienced and the racism and from Southeast Asia to East Asia to just and I didn't know that. And so that like was a real awakening for me.
Yeah, Tasha, your audio is not great again. I don't know what's going on.
Hold on, I'm gonna leave and come back.
I have to remind. Sometimes I do have to remind myself that I'm an exception from the rule. I live in Peachtree County, where we have the most beautiful, just affluent Black people in the whole nation live here. So I see things differently. And also been in prison where the dynamic is upside down, where the white people were the drug addicts being extorted, and the Black people will have the economic leverage. So I see the world in a very different way than most people do because of my own experiences. I've seen that has nothing to do with race. It has more to do with power and economics. So, and that's part of why I have the view I have because of my own experiences. So you go out, I mean, I've been out of state where they're all racist motherfuckers. Like here in Peachtree County, you have incidents where they talk about the BLM. Well, you grew up in a $500,000 house. You don't even know what real racism is. Like, you go to Detroit where things are segregated, like really segregated. You stay here, you stay here, you stay here. It's a whole different game. Or go down south where my son was in Martinsville, like Georgia, where you have the real crackers. I mean, they're with the little flags, and my son's half Black, and he has to live through that. It's different in every pocket. It's just everyone's experience is different because where you from.
You're right, and everyone's experience is different. The problem, again, it goes back to our society and how we treat each other. It's all about the Me Too, and that's all that really matters. When it comes down to it, it's we need to try our best not to be so dismissive of other people and their experience. A lot of people, and I'm just gonna call it out. So a lot of my Black peers, especially that used to be on my podcast, we disagreed on some of the things that were going on with the situation with Black Lives Matter, and I had to call them out on him. Like, are you a victim of police brutality? They're like, no. I'm like, bruh, I'm 3 times, and I had a lawsuit and I won, right? And have you ever had someone call you the N-word and threaten to kill you? No. Oh, guess what? They called me a chink and they wanted to kill me multiple times, even in my 30s, in front of my daughter and my mother. So, like, some people are like, they're just so dismissive and they're just trying to play the card. I hate that. Sorry, I just had to vent and say that out loud.
I'll take a little bit of a flip side here. Like being born and raised in Texas in like the 80s, I'm like in my 40s. Like that was like a very virulent time of anti-Asian racism. And I got beat up, called goop, chink, and all of that. And I think at this point in time, I would say there's more racism and hate crimes against Asians than even when I was growing up as a Vietnamese kid, where people were like anti-Vietnamese, anti-Japanese, because like the Japanese were stealing, American jobs. And it's a cycle that's going to continue. And I don't think in the foreseeable future, I'm not trying to be like pessimistic, but America has struggled so long with race. It's not going to break anytime soon because how perpetual people see Asians, regardless of nation background, as whether it's Japan, Korea, China rises and becomes more prominent, or maybe even supplanting the U.S. That just means we become more of a target, and we have to like take care of ourselves, protect ourselves, and try to educate as much as others. But like during this pandemic, we have been denied. My company and students, coaches have been denied entry into places specifically because we were Asian. Even when we like got a table and everything like that, like they won't let us in. I've been harassed, verbally and physically because I was on a date with someone that was non-Asian multiple times. And I hate to say this, and again, not trying to be pessimistic but realistic. It's not going. We can alleviate it, but it's still going to be there because we are perpetual foreigners to all American ethnic groups, white, Black, other Latinx. We are the perpetual foreigner. We are never going to be as American as white Americans or Black Americans or Latin Americans. And I hate to say it, but I've seen this cycle. I'm sure others have seen this cycle, and it's just going to continue because let's say China supplants or Korea supplants the U.S. You think Americans are going to be happy about that when they project themselves on us when they see us out and about in American society? No. It's just like, we just have to take care of ourselves, educate, protect our own community, and those who would want to be, allies of our community.
I definitely think one of the best ways to do this is to, you know, hurt. Not I wouldn't say hurt people, but like just be successful in what you do and be the better human being and inspire others, especially the younger generation, and to be better. I mean, we have history for a reason, so we can learn from those mistakes, and at the same time, we need to teach our youth to be free thinkers.
Yeah.
I'm in the education field, and hopefully, I don't get fired from this podcast. But you know, I tell the kids straight up, whatever I'm teaching you is only a fraction of what you should know. Do your own research, talk to people, read more. Go to different areas, travel. And while you're doing it, have fun being the best version of yourself to be a better person for others.
And it's funny that you say that, because in grammar school we had a teacher who was doing the exact same thing you was doing. Just like your kids are probably now, man, this man is crazy. He don't know what he's talking about until you see it for yourself. And you be like, damn, he was onto something.
Yeah. It's just, I know that out of 32 kids in a classroom, because I teach special ed, out of the 9, I'm not going to change all of them, but I'm going to be able to spark at least 1 or 2 of them that's going to impact other people. It's a ripple effect. And it's the same thing that, what Jamie's doing and what Vee's doing in our community, whether they're good and bad discussions, and JT, what you're doing, we're inspiring other people. And that's the part that we need to continue to keep doing as, advocates of our community for, not just AMBW, but just for humanity. So,
I mean, I have a question for everyone. It's not one that I planned ahead, but it just stuck in my mind. So I've literally, if you check every interview I've been doing the past 2 weeks, this has come up. Asian people, well, I guess, yeah, a lot of people experience Asian guys as shy, passive aggressive, and I definitely think that is to Asian guys' detriment, because a lot of people view us as human doormats. Like you guys are saying, like JT and Shao were just saying, like, you have your experiences where you were literally being threatened, your life was being threatened or intimidated because you were not because you were just Asian, because you were an Asian male. If you guys were white or Latino or African American or anything like that, people wouldn't fuck with you guys as much. You know how many times people have stepped up to me? I've been on a couple of dates with Asian girls, and it's so stupid. It's bizarre. I don't understand it. But like literally, there was this one time where I was with this really cute Vietnamese chick at Starbucks, and we were talking. And first of all, I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a racist, but I do want to state the facts. There was this Hispanic kid who was probably about 10 years younger than me, so like in his early 20s. He walked by. He noticed me with her, with this girl, this Vietnamese girl, and he made some very awful, rude ass comments. And you could tell. I'm not going to repeat them because I don't want to be that negative, but you said some racist ass fucking shit, right? And you could tell all these rumors circulating that non-Asian men are possessive of Asian women are fucking true, because everything this motherfucker was saying. And then he didn't do anything physical. You could tell he was so pissed, because when he left, he slammed open the doors, and like everybody in the fucking shop stopped and looked at him. And it was just, you know what I mean? Of course, like that experience varies a lot from like you two guys, but I just want to share my experience, because that's like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? What is wrong with people? You know what I
mental
mean?
health is a real thing, my friend, and a lot of those people do that for attention because let's be real about it, they're a bunch of haters. That's what they are. Fucking haters.
I don't know why people worry about other people's relationships and situationships beyond their own, and that's a problem with people. Like, I mean, there's always a bell curve thing. You have 50% of people that are dumb as fuck. They're everywhere. Can't get rid of them. They're gonna be ignorant. They're gonna be falling in this little race thing, and whatever they taught, their low self-esteem's gonna be hurt. Fuck them. You deal with people that's on a higher level, and you have to deal with that higher energy yourself. So I mean, I don't go through a lot of these issues myself, because of who I am, or how I'm a little more confident than a normal person expected. But then again, maybe I don't look absolutely Asian either. So I don't know. So maybe I'm an exception to the rule. But I think this has more to do with attitude and how you confront things. When those situations come to me, I'm like, saying, this motherfucker want to get choked out. Like, but that's my first instinct because of where I'm from. But I guess that shy thing, that associated with shy thing, I'm like, it's not me. It doesn't fit me, so I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, no, dude. I was on another interview. I literally said the same thing. Like people like me and V, not fucking shy. I don't have that problem. I don't think
It-
JT has a problem. Linda's on problem. Vin has a problem.
yeah, it's more, I think, size and height. That's the issue, right? Which is obviously coupled with race and perceptions of weakness or whatever strengths with race, but definitely size and height. Because I have like students and coaches that are like 6 foot tall. One of my coaches is like an Air Force captain, six pack abs, all of that, and he doesn't get anywhere near as harassed as I do, and it's simply because of like the height difference. I mean, race plays a part, but I think height, definitely plays a large factor. And there's only so much you can do with attitude. Like I've literally been making out with girls. I've been on dates, and I've had like men physically try to interfere. It has, no circumstance. It's nothing about attitude, right? It's just I'm a short guy. I'm 5'5", and I come up as easy pickings to other people who are predatory for whatever reason, for whatever excuse that they have. They're just a bit more predatory, and they see someone that is short and like, okay, I can go after him, right? And you see this obviously in the Asian community for various reasons. They see crime levels of petty theft and pickpocketing, and they target like, Asian foreigners and Asian elders because they're considered just, prey to other people. And I think it's just important for us men to be aware how to take care of ourselves in those situations. Because I would say this, I can always say like I recognize my male privilege in the fact that I don't experience danger or sexual violence as much as a woman. But I think Asian men have a better understanding, at least those who are more typical Asian build, of that violence, because we are faced with it at an elevated level compared to other men. Right? I have students who are concerned about being assaulted when they're out. Again, not the same level as a woman when it comes to dating and sexual assault, but it's there, right? And I think we have to learn how to defend ourselves in whatever way that is, whether that's gun ownership, whether that's working out, whether that's practicing self-defense, or having the situational awareness around you as to how people view you if you're yourself a predator or prey. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Tasha, conversely? I know a lot of us Asian guys have been talking for a little bit now, but Tasha, like, from your experience, like whether you've been out, on a date with someone else, maybe who's not the same skin color as you, have you ever experienced anything like this before?
Sure. I've experienced it from my own communities, other communities. I've had it done to me when I had my. I'll give you an example. I was young when I had my first child, and
Your
my
audio
oldest
is not
child.
great. Your audio is not great again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit better now.
Okay, sorry about that. I was young when I had my first child. Well, my oldest daughter is Caucasian and black. But when I say my children are light, they're very light complected. My daughter was born with blue eyes. She didn't even look black. Let's just put it that way. That's how fair skinned she was. And I remember going out, and she was in her carrier, and I went to pick her up. She was still just a little baby, and I remember this white. I'll never forget it. My daughter's 32, and it still rings so clear in my mind. This older white woman looked at me with such disgust because she thought I was kissing and Tata and Googling a little white baby, not realizing my child was half black.
Tasha, I don't know what the hell's going on with your microphone. She's saying my hand might be over your microphone.
No, can you hear me?
It's going in and out. It's really muffled. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's muffled.
I think that's Wi-Fi has affected Tasha's. I think
I'm gonna borrow Bee's Wi-Fi in a minute here. Can you hear me now?
It's not getting any better. No, whatever. So she'll be back. No, but Jeanette, like I know, like you're probably a lot younger. Obviously, you are a lot younger than everyone here. But in your experience, have you ever experienced anything like this?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I've experienced a lot of things, but I think since I live in a PWA anyways, walking into any restaurant or going somewhere with like an Asian man, it's just like the music stops. Like everyone's like, so I always, it's always something along those lines. It's always just the music. I feel like the music literally stops. Like if you're in a movie, like the music just cuts. Like but I haven't had anyone come up to me or I don't know. I get into a protective mode anyways. Like I put my glare on, so I haven't really experienced it like up front to my face, but I can feel the energy or the vibe of it.
Okay, hold on, you guys. Can you hear me better now?
Slightly.
Kinda? Okay. I think my battery's about to go, so that could be it too.
Yeah, interracial situations, especially because of
I will not
opportunities. I kind of like it. To me, I mean, because maybe I'm an attention whore, but I mean, honestly, I'm used to it now. Like, it is what it is. Fuck everybody. Fuck what y'all think. So.
I agree. I get a lot of looks, especially from black men, but I embrace it because I'm like, yeah, you're hating on me. That's what's going on. You're hating on me, so I
Yeah, but
embrace it.
the tough thing about that is they date a lot out of their. Kaylin, you.
Somebody about to get in trouble.
Yeah, so yeah, we all
I was
know.
downloading something.
Yeah, no, but yeah, we all know what she was gonna say though.
Well, I will say this, just in my experience, yeah, there are some black men that have like looked a little bit askance if my students are talking to black women, but I have had a lot of times when like some black dude just like was amazed and like literally came up to us and just high fived us. It's like, you got game. I'm like, thanks. Right. So yeah, there's haters, but the most important thing is like just being aware of how to take care of yourself in those situations, because there is a difference between just people like kind of staring, whether it's because of like they haven't seen that before, and then those who actually wish you harm, whether that's just emotional harm and they just want to say negative stuff, and then those who take it even further, like physical harm, right? And it's important to have that awareness, and there are different threat levels. You have to have like a threat model, right, to see who you can ignore and who you have to pay serious attention to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that I've like kind of like you guys, like I've been fortunate enough, like I've gotten stares. I don't think anyone has ever really attempted to quote unquote like cock block me when I've been out on a date, whether it was with Asian woman or non-Asian woman. I mean, I remember one time though, I was at Disneyland with this chick that I've been seeing for a while, and she was Latina, and we were in line waiting to get her pictures. It was a long ass line. This white dude right behind us starts talking, and he thinks he's so fucking smooth. He thinks he's so clever. He basically just starts talking, and he's a little bit charming, he's a little bit charismatic, but he gets the attention of the my date or whatever. Um, I could sense what he was trying to do, but I didn't know if I should have said something. I felt like if I had said something, then it would have just turned her off, because I've heard women don't like that when you do that. So what I did was I basically just put my arm closer around my date, you know what I mean, just stuff like that. I didn't say nothing. I turned around to address the guy. I didn't have to say anything to him, but he eventually just stopped. And I guess to that extent it worked, or he just gave up because she left with me. She didn't go home with him. But it's just, yeah, I mean, it's just, honestly, I will say this. I think Americans, when I say Americans, I'm literally saying no, all non-Asian dudes have a problem with Asian men winning. And I don't mind saying that. I don't care if that sounds racist or that sounds biased. I'm an Asian man. Okay, you have a fucking panel here that's full of five Asian dudes who are spilling out their hearts, and what I mean, just telling true experiences. You guys out there who are watching, who are insecure as fuck, you need to stop fucking with us, dude. You need to stop fucking with us, because I tell you right now, man, I don't give a fuck anymore, man. I have a baseball bat in my car. I have a fucking little flashlight that looks like a little flashlight that will shock the fuck out of you. I have a blowhorn that I will make you motherfuckers deaf. Y'all want to come after me when I'm with a date and try to score some pussy, try to steal my girl? Bitch, I will fuck you up. Anyway, so that's just me saying. Who wants to comment on that?
Well, there's a proportionality response, right? In those circumstances, trust me, I teach this professionally. I get harassed a lot, and part of that is because I'm in Hollywood. Part of it is who I date are those that other men envy, right? At least white men. And how you handle it is it's threat proportional. If it's just like some weak ass dude, you just ignore, right? Otherwise, it can come off as very insecure. Then there are those who are more proactive, and then you can just like verbally engage them, put them down, and whatnot. And then there are those who might present a more physical reaction. In those cases, you know, as much as one might take a violent action, and it has happened, especially in today's day and age, I think discretion is going to be the better part of valor. At this point, gun shootings are an American sport, right? And like I carry. Well, I mean, it's Los Angeles, right? It's not like I concealed carry, but I am, at personal defense, weapons. But I am not willing to use that in an everyday basis, just because it can escalate so far, right? But if any kind of home invasion, sure, right? So it's threat proportionality. Simply because someone upsets you with their words, you have to be able to evaluate the situation because not only are you judging your own personal safety, you're judging your girlfriend's safety. And just because your ego is bruised because he attacks you and he's racist, if you escalate it beyond just a verbal and he's not, you're putting her life in danger too, right? So again, it's about threat proportionality.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I just want to make it clear too. I've never had to use physical violence. It's like I said before. No one has actually. I don't think, except for that one time, the old dude. But like, yeah, I don't think anyone's really tried to step in and cock block me. I've gotten looks. I've gotten stares. Anything like that. I've never really gotten to violent altercation with anybody. I don't expect it. I hope that it never happens. But considering my history, the fact that I've been on a lot of dates and it's never happened yet, I'd say it's a pretty good thing. I'm actually pretty grateful it hasn't happened. But yeah, V, you were gonna say something?
My view is like, if you can take her, you can have her. But if you disrespect me, I'm gonna have you. It's very simple as that. I mean, I am not below violence. I understand where it can go. I'm very capable of handling myself. I think most people get that feeling very quickly about me, and they know very quickly. So I'm not worried. I don't have to deal with as much. I mean, I had one incident where my then girlfriend, and she's bad, you know what I'm saying, dude say some crazy stuff. I gave him a look. I was like, I laughed. I looked at him. I was like, and then he just checked himself. He walked off. I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying, great distance. But I mean, I've had some crazy stuff happen. I've dated girls where dudes have come out of nowhere, like, oh my God. And they just like in the middle of the street of traffic, just, oh my God, what the fuck? And I'm like, that's his life, son. Like some people take it personally that you date their women because they think they own them, whatever. And I laugh at it. And then some people just like, it's not your business. I'm not checking your relationship. Why you checking for mine? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm dating somebody, like, why you? It's not your world. It's my world. Now you can hate all you want. You can feel what you want. You know what I'm saying? But you can also keep it yourself. Once we start communicating, and then we're interacting, now it's a different thing. It's gonna be a different game. And I don't think you want to interact with somebody like me. It's just not a good idea.
That hatred from people is an entitlement. They feel they're entitled. They can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Until they get checked. And people don't usually change until something traumatic happens. And God forbid, people shouldn't put hands on each other and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not trying to preach violence, but sometimes the only time you can stop violence, you have to use violence.
Yeah, look, I want to say something. Okay, so it wasn't date or like romance related. This is like decades ago. This was like 2006. So the only time where it sort of became possibly violent or physical, I actually initiated the physical part. Prior to that, basically, this happened when I was 2006 when I was by myself at ASU, and there was these two white dudes that like pulled up on me literally in this car. I didn't have a car at the time. I was walking to the grocery store to get some food for myself, and then these two white motherfuckers pull up in a Jeep, and they say some racist ass fucking Asian stuff to me, and my back's turned to them. I'm walking away from them, so they don't think I can hear them, but I heard them. And so at that point, I just got pissed off. I found a huge fucking rock. I picked it up. I walked back to these two white motherfuckers. They shit their pants. They saw the fear of God in their fucking eyes. I'm like maybe a few feet from them. I dropped the rock. I come to my senses at the last minute, and I just turned them around. But the thing about that is that, you know what I mean. Like I said, I'm grateful that no one has tried to do that to me. No one has tried to, assault me or threaten me or anything like that. But yeah, like V said, like I'm not opposed. I have a pushing point. I have a breaking point, man. Like if you fuck with me, you know what I mean. I'm sorry, that's your loss.
I have certain control issues. I have certain safety issues because of where I've been from. I know that out of nowhere things could go nuts. I'm very aware of that. I'd rather be in control, and violence to me is just another form of communication. That's all it is. Sorry, it is what it is. I'm just communicating to you. Maybe you fucked up. You fucked up. So that's all.
So so let's lighten the mood. So I have this question actually for Mr. Tran. Where do black women meet Asian men?
Where do black men meet Asian men? I mean, probably if you want to cast your widest net online, I was saying, but you also have to kind of select: are you going after Asian American men? Are you going after Asian men? And there's going to be a difference, right? I think in the real world, which is where I primarily operate, I think realistically, your best bet is to either go to some sort of mixers that have like a predominance of Asian men, right? Meetup groups that might have that, or go to like the Asian clubs and try to like there. Although again, going back to the shy stereotype, I literally have a friend from Texas. She's a Latina and she has a fetish, like legit fetish for Asian guys. But
Nice.
every time she's telling me, every time she goes to an Asian club, the only men that hit on her, other than once in a blue moon, are like the white guy and the black guys that go there to hit on
Right.
Asian women, right? But it's again just going to where there's a target-rich environment of Asian men, like and just somehow putting it out there that you are attracted, you are open and receptive to them. I think from a practical technique part, is to be introduced probably through Asian friends, because a lot of Asian men traditionally date within social circle groups. They get introduced to the woman. So yeah, if you can make some Asian friends who then, introduce you to other groups, that is where a lot of kind of Asian American style dating happens, is through social circles.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great answer. So I hope Tasha's okay, but I have one more thing because I know it's getting kind of late. But this was brought up last night again when we were trying to come up with topics, and this was something. It's a good topic. So hang on. Let me. This again. It's not in the form of a specific question. So it's more broad. But who wants to tackle that first?
I mean, I guess because it has like the manosphere, I'll address that and let everyone else handle the other aspects. There are certain positive things about like very kind of male dominated groups. In some ways, one might even say that the entire aspect of pickup is a rejection of the traditional white male hierarchy of dating, because you have to do more than what was back in the past, where it's like, hey, a woman had to be with a man because she couldn't own property or anything like that, or even open a bank account. Here, like men have to be able to display their confidence, their chutzpah, to be able to go out there, put their balls on the line, talk to girls, and prove themselves. But it can obviously be very toxic, right? There can be a lot of, whether it's a pickup or even the Asian community groups, who become like this circle jerk of like anger and bitterness that you have to be very aware of. Just take what you need from whatever group and use it to better yourself, better your life, better your thought process, without letting it poison you with essentially, a lot of Asian groups are very bitter, very angry. Unlike both sides, Asian men groups can be very bitter and angry, and Asian women groups can be very bitter and angry. Take what you need from that, and then move on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that 100%. I think right now the manosphere is kind of growing to kind of like combat all the, not damage, but atmosphere that feminism has created, where men are getting silent, where men were once silenced. Things were kept secret. Saying the way we just talk to each other about our issues, and now it's coming out. And now we'll talk about Kevin Samuels. Saying the Fresh and Fit guys. The roommates. I mean, all those guys that's bringing this conversation up, where men are like kind of saying, "Hey, we need to be men again. We need to have our balls," because there's a lot of femininity by guys is like a growing thing, and women are acting more like dudes, so their masculinity is jumping up. So, and that's not conducive to having relationships or even marriage. And people are finding that they say 42-year-old, very successful women, are still single and very unhappy. That's a stat that's out there. They're saying 78% of women are inducing divorce. They're the ones who's like, I want to get divorced. And then there are consequences of that, and they're woman made. So the manosphere is really talking about, hey, we have a voice too, and we have to start acting like men. We have to start giving women consequences for the bad decisions that they make. Now, consequences as in not punishment per se, but some people have to be checked like, hey, I want to be a man in this relationship. I want to be treated like a man. You have to be kind of play this role. And that's the only thing that's probably going to say. Now, people don't understand the difference between men going their own way, the red pill movement, and the incels. They're all women just like put them all together. Oh, these are bitter, hurt men. Who hurt you? You have mother issues. Blase, you must be gay. That's their conversation. That's how they, instead of learning about it, and just because women in general, sorry about that, women in general don't like listening to truths or another perspective that might make them feel bad or hopeless about their relationship hopes. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And having a conversation about it, just having a conversation ticks women off. And that's the problem these days. And right now the man is just fighting that right now. That's what's happening. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't agree with everything what Kevin Samuel says, but I don't. But that conversation needed to happen. And I'm glad it's happening in a way. So
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna go Tasha, but Vin, why don't you say what you have to say?
Oh yeah, about Turo, but I wanted to just lay out a few things real quick. Just some final points I thought is so I went through about 7 life-death experiences, choked out by a neo-Nazi, drowned twice, and good things. But I just find like life is so short. If there is there a way that we can maximize life, love more. Love is the most powerful thing, and that's all I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna, yeah, I know I tried to lovey-dovey at the end, but but that's how it rolls, bro. We're gonna love more and hate less. Like I just feel if people have time to hate, we gotta have even more time to love, and I think that needs to be cultivated young, all the way to
See,
adulthood.
see,
Yeah,
Vin, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I completely disagree with you because I think Asian men should lose their shit more often. I think Asian men need to militarize, and this is what I think we should do. Are you ready? This is what I think we should do.
Come on, come on. Let's get nuts.
Yes, yes,
I think a little hate is
yes.
good. A little hate is good. Can't be all love. A little hate is good. Little bit of constructive anger is good.
Tasha, your thoughts.
I missed it. So what's the question again?
Did you hear anything that V said?
No.
V,
I'm
V,
sorry.
just repeat yourself. V, just repeat yourself, word for word. No, I'm just kidding.
black women are beautiful. I love y'all. Oh my god, damn, man, shit. These
Thank
motherfuckers are
you.
losing there, yeah.
Well,
we love y'all too. Well, sorry
you
about
want
that. I was having technical difficulties. I had to sign in from somewhere else. So I do apologize that I wasn't here for some part of the last part of this conversation.
It's okay, but I do want to wrap it up. So again, thank you. If you are all watching in the comments or watching right now live, thank you very much. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching the replay, like, comment, subscribe. Watch all my videos from beginning to end. Because, come on, man, I need to make some money. But also, so like we did in the beginning, I want to go through everyone and where can everyone find you guys? Yeah, Mr. Vin, let's start with you.
Sure. I got a YouTube channel called Positive Leo. I just share a lot of stories from folks. And I got an Instagram called Joy Grows Within. I think it needs to be cultivated ASAP. Next.
Absolutely. Shell?
You can find my podcast, The Fresh Delivery Show, on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and yeah, pretty much all streaming sources. You can also find me on Instagram, Shao_Lin, LINN_fantastic. You can also follow The Fresh Delivery Show as well as my other podcast, the Dirty 30 Podcast.
Absolutely. And Mr. JT Tran?
You can find me at the ABCs of Attraction. That's just, ABCs of Attraction.com. And to all my Asian brothers out there, be successful because you're an Asian man and not in spite of it. And to all beautiful black women out there, I'm getting to you too.
Absolutely. Miss Tasha?
Hi, you can find me at Tasha Mac 810 on my Instagram, Tasha Griffin, on my Facebook page. Other than that,
Net.
You can find me literally anywhere on everything at its.net with 2 E's.
Miss Melly.
You can find me at Queen_Simone on Instagram.
And hey,
Surprise, motherfucker. Why are you always yelling?
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Wrong! I said forget about it, cuz.
Mr. Madison, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Why did you say that name? Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Shit, nigga, you at least 30.
Vee, where can people find you?
Dang, V.
You can find me on Facebook a lot because I'm very active there, cussing people out and doing all those little things that he's talking about on my Facebook group, Black Women Asian Men United, Uncut. I'm representing DMV, PG County all motherfucking day. As a magician and bartender, local legend. As you know, I work in the fish market, slinging drinks and doing magic tricks. Vee Magic Mixologist on IG, and much love to you all. I really appreciate y'all conversation, and I may have learned something today. I may have just a little something.
Just a little?
Just a little.
Thank you guys. JT, I'm gonna need you to figure out something for us women. We need something too. We need something too.
You know, go on my YouTube channel.
They're
I put up the entire seminar Shan Boudrum of women of color and how to approach men. So I've got stuff for you too.
Okay, I'm gonna go check it out, and we're gonna have this conversation again. You guys have a great night. It's been a pleasure.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.